The second round begins not far from the center of the Lone Star State, where one driver can etch themselves as the lone one to get a ticket into the next round of the 2023 championship pursuit. Live from virtual Fort Worth, Texas, we bring you the first race of the round of 12 in the Sunoco Cup Series and the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200 from the Texas Motor Speedway. Welcome to our coverage on Podium Esports. We're alongside DJ Clark in the booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bauer will be our producer all night long. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, DJ, last week at Atlanta, we faced the harsh reality of eliminating 4 drivers out of playoff contention. Now we're down to 12 at another 2-race round. And as we slowly progress through this postseason, DJ, one thing is going to get clear at this point is that it's going to get very hard, and for these drivers, they're going to really have to execute, especially at a track as unique as Texas.
Yeah, very much so. This track may not be bigger than Atlanta last time around, but I'll tell you what, it presents its unique share of challenges. Very tricky progressive banking around this circuit. Going to make things very, very difficult not only to stay in line, but be able to keep the car in the line coming off of the corners. Drivers are really going to have their hands full tonight, and we are going to see the absolute cream rise to the top of the Sunoco Cup field.
Yeah, you're right. It's about the same length as Atlanta Motor Speedway, but it drives very differently. We'll get into those details in just a couple of moments, but we're pretty deep inside the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs for 2023. Here's a look at the schedule at this point. Nashville, Atlanta, both of those races crossed off. Round of 16 done and dusted. We're here at the round of 12 and a 2-race round, DJ. And going into that point, when you got a 3-race round, sure, you have a little more margin of error, but when it's only down to 2, if you have a tough race tonight at Texas, you're going to have your hands full at Pocono. You're going to have to do all that you can to get into the round of 8 in a couple of weeks' time at Richmond. So Texas, although it's smack dab in the middle of the playoff schedule, it is very important as you take a look at the playoff grid.
Yeah, as we take a look at it here at this point, and there you can see Miranda, Sexton up on the top there, having taken wins in the last round. That's going to be able to carry them on a little bit forward, give them just the merest bit of breathing room for that as they run. But yeah, everybody else here pretty much on an even playing field, and the biggest ticket is if you win it, you're in it here at this point.
And we saw 2 playoff drivers win their way into this round a couple of weeks back. Nashville went to Mario Miranda. Gary Sexton for 0G got the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway in a stunning race to the line with his teammate to be able to get into this round. Both of them at the top of the playoff board. And let's speak to the driver who's bearing the top spot in the playoffs for this round. And that is Oklahoma's Mario Miranda. First of all, Mario, I know you're surely excited about tonight's race from Texas, knowing that you won here last time we were at Texas Motor Speedway. What are your thoughts about trying to execute in this round of 12 to continue your run for a championship?
I think just execute tonight. I know last time I said at Nashville, opening of the round, I just need, solid stage points and, a good finish at the end and make it to the next round. So I'm going to say that again, hoping that I can repeat what I did at Nashville. But yeah, what happened at Texas last year, I was kind of went in and went out the top 5, all that race. I got really lucky at the end with what happened between the Drinking Bro drivers, to secure that win. But, a little bit of luck tonight and a little bit of skill that I have at this track, I think we can come home with a decent finish and even maybe a win to move us to the next round.
And talk about the skill necessary to get around this Texas Motor Speedway as fast as possible. You're one of the top drivers in practice. This track very different from the other intermediate that we visited about a week ago, although that's a super speedway in Atlanta. What does it take to drive around this Texas Motor Speedway, and what does it feel like behind the wheel with the time you've had in practice?
Man, I really hate this track. I didn't like it. I didn't like what they did to it. I guess it makes for good racing and tough racing, but it's hard to drive this track fast. It's hard to be, every lap consistent at this track. And there's so many variables and everything changes every lap. And then there's other cases when you're in a pack. There's guys who don't want to save their tires right away. There's guys who are. So, the first opening 10 laps is just chaos. You got guys pushing it, guys who are reserving. It's like this constant back and forth. You can find yourself in pretty bad spots in the first, couple laps after a restart. So looking to avoid trouble, keep my head straight, and really just pay attention. You really got to race the track here and not the other drivers.
Well, you mentioned they're staying out of trouble. It's felt like that's been the motive for Zero G, and you guys have done a great job of just that. 2 wins in the last 2 races. You guys are top 3 in the standings. You, Sexton, and Stempian in this round of 12. So how is that confidence-wise for not only yourself, but for your teammates to run well in these playoff races and to try and stomp on the rest of the field to go for that title?
It's really good. You know, I came into this team beginning of the year as the last driver they signed on. And it was like a message out of the blue from Dakota. And he's like, hey, I have a couple good drivers. I would love for you to join on board. I didn't know who he had, but as soon as I joined, you know, I saw the list of drivers we had. We had Gary, you know, Dakota himself, and Stempian. You know, my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, holy cow, this is a stacked team. You know, and the motivation we have on each other, we push each other pretty well to, you know, compete really well. And our goal was to win the team championship at the end of the year, and we're doing really good so far. And yeah, the back-to-back wins the last 2 weeks have really helped. And Gary's in a tough situation of his own, racing away from home, but he seems to be, you know, adjusting to it very well.
Well, Mario, nonetheless, we certainly wish you the best of luck. Maybe a 2 in a row in the cards tonight from the Lone Star State. We'll just have to see. Thank you so much for giving us the time, and best of luck in qualifying.
Yeah, no problem. And just one more thing, horns down.
Oh, there we go. The Sooner Esports driver making his name known with the pride of Oklahoma University. That's Mario Miranda, who's 3rd in practice right now, top of the board in the playoff standings going into tonight. He was the winner at Nashville Super Speedway, a couple of weeks back. His teammate Steven Stempian is just behind him, a couple of spots down in the round of 12. But Steven, we talked on your Dropping the Hammer podcast about your love for this Texas Motor Speedway and these types of tracks. What is your excitement level going into this race in the round of 12?
I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it. Texas is a good track of mine, so I'm hoping it brings me some luck in the Lone Star State, and we'll see how it goes, man.
And I talked to Mario about the Zero G confidence that you guys are boosting right now. I mean, 2 straight wins in the playoffs, and at this point, you're the only driver of Zero G to not get a win in the playoffs. So Texas, is this your shot to boost yourself into the next round and to obviously help the morale of Zero G as they push on for a championship?
Yeah, and I hope so, man. Last time you guys interviewed me, I got a win before the race, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope so, man. I've been consistent. That's all that matters, man. Playoffs, you gotta be consistent, and the wins are gonna come eventually. You just gotta keep clean and keep running.
37 laps led last time we were here at Texas Motor Speedway back in late 2022. You finished 3rd in that race after starting 2nd. What's going to be the difference between that 3rd place finish last season and a possible win here tonight in 2023?
Last season we had a couple of late race cautions, and I was pretty strong on the long run, and the late race cautions kind of messed my strategy up, and you know, I felt like I had a good car on the long run, and you know, I kind of prepared this race as long run and short run pace, try to see how I could do on both. I think I'm pretty good on both. Tonight I'm feeling good, feeling confident. Texas is a good track of mine, so I'm hoping, man, let's get a win for Zero G. I'm the only one, like you said, that's not in the winner's circle in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see if that changes tonight. Steven, we'll let you go drop the hammer on qualifying, go for the green flag. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for taking some time to join us.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Good luck to the drivers. Enjoy the show tonight. Texas, baby.
That is Steven Stempian, driver of the 81, had the most laps led last time we were here, looking for his first win in these 2023 Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. Well, DJ, let's take a tour around this Texas Motor Speedway, because ever since its revitalization in 2017, this track drives completely different from what it used to.
Yeah, it certainly does, and as you heard there from Mario Miranda, much to the chagrin of quite a few drivers here, but progressive banking around the circuit, as we said, varying between about 20 and 24 degrees as they run. Watch for some real danger areas. Coming off at turn 2, we've seen drivers get very, very squirrely off there, as well as coming off of turn 4 through the quad oval. The quad oval configuration here going to be a little bit more difficult for it. It is still a 1.5 mile circuit, an asphalt circuit, so that is going to come into play. But as always, and as you heard Mario talk about their tire preservation, normally going to be something that you're going to have to watch out for over the course of a run. Now, for the stages here that we have early on in the race, I don't think we're going to see too much playing around with that. But once we get into that final stage here tonight, that's really going to be the big moment that things change around.
With the difference in banking on either side of the racetrack, your tires are going to be facing two different types of load, so you're going to see just how different they are, and as a driver, you're probably going to have to conserve that as much as possible, like you said. Tonight's race analysis is similar in structure to that of Atlanta just 1 week prior, but we do go a little bit less on the mileage, 195 miles, but still the same, 130 laps. Stages are broken up 30 laps apiece for stages 1 and 2, and then we'll go that final 70-lap dash all the way to the checkered flag tonight. We do have the opportunity, 3 green-white checkered attempts to extend this race past scheduled distance. There are no faster pairs, as always in the Sunoco Cup Series, and like every other race, this is with a fixed setup. So only a couple of things that you can tweak around in the race car before you get out on track, whether that's steering ratio, brake bias, you name it, but not much you can do really across the entire race car. So qualifying currently underway, just starting. You got a couple of drivers already taking to the speedway as the sun is setting here in Fort Worth, Texas. How about Chris Shoemaker, driver for Prestige Worldwide Racing? He takes his Ford Mustang out of turn 4. We're crossing the line for his first of 2 laps to qualify. And DJ, talk us through a lap here in Texas and what it's like to get fast around this place.
Well, it's very tricky to get fast coming through turn 1. You got to have a massive feathering of the throttle coming through the corner. Careful on throttle application. As we said, very, very easy to get the rear end of that car loose coming off of 2. Now, diving into 3 and 4, you're able to be a little bit more flat out, carry a little bit more momentum through this corner. You're still going to have a little bit of the feather, but not nearly as much. Then you come back here into the quad oval. Watch for maybe some theatrics here over the course of the race. Maybe some drivers diving down into that inside grass as they try to cut through and maybe make a position up or 2.
See the lane there by the 4 of Shoemaker. A little high off the racetrack. A lot of drivers would immediately dart to that white line. You see guys like Richard Swaby in the 32. He's going all the way down there, not afraid to do so as well. Shoemaker will come across to the start-finish line. He's put in the fastest time so far, but only 4 drivers have put in a qualifying effort. Shoemaker will cross the line. His lap at a 29.941. Richard Swaby does best his time at a 29.913. And here's the driver of the 18, the Big Bracket Challenge winner, Parker Bland, with a beautiful UPS Chevrolet going into turn 1.
Yeah, I really like this livery this time around for Parker. It's a good-looking one. Going to drive the car off a little bit high there off at 2. You could see a little bit of communication there. I think Parker knew that line wasn't exactly what they wanted to be running here at this point. And now going to dive it down into 3 and 4, trying to find that late apex. And there you can see the sun poking its way through the grandstands. That's going to be a big storyline. As this sun continues to set, that is going to be blinding drivers off of 4.
Yeah, it's never fun to see the sun right in your purview as you're going for the corner. Sort of similar to the effect that you can have at Phoenix Raceway at Homestead of Miami when the sun starts to set. It can easily blind you. Here's the 5 of Ross Harlow, one of the playoff drivers still in the round of 12. And he came home with a 6th place finish in 2022's edition of this Texas Motor Speedway race. Harlow looking to change the script, get his first win of the playoffs, and his first win since Richmond earlier in the year. His first lap clocking in at a 30.058. That'll be good enough to get him around the top 10, but we should expect, DJ, that second lap to be much better than the first. But, I mean, the lines of difference certainly a little obvious in the first 2 laps of this track.
Yeah, very much so. It's going to be the second lap. That is the money lap here. He's going to come off of the corner right now. A little bit high once again coming off of 4, but he's going to bring it across the line, and that's going to put him up into P3.
Nice qualifying job by the 5 of Ross Harlow. So not necessarily faster than the driver who holds the top spot, that is Brad Fulham. In the 19, here is Justin Urban, the number 20 car driver who was unfortunately eliminated from the playoffs last week in Hampton, Georgia, but the driver for TOW Racing still looking for his first win of the year. And I do want to apologize because I know last week I called him a rookie, and that was a whole joke in the general chat for a while. Justin Urban's not a rookie. He's been here around for a while in this Sunoco Cup Series. He's going to use his experience here for this qualifying time out of turn 4. And as he crosses the line, his Chevrolet comes in at what looks to be 29.847. Took a little while to register there, but a nice job. That's 3rd.
Yeah, he'll be pretty pleased with that. Now, we do have a big chunk of the field here yet to qualify, and I think what they're waiting for here at this point, Kenneth, is they're waiting for this sun to continue to go down. It's already dropped 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the drop of the green flag here for qualifying, and these drivers know that the cooler this track temperature is, that is going to be better for them. As we always like to say, hot, sticky tires, cool track, that is the perfect combination.
You have a lot of grip, and into 3 and 4, you're probably going to see some drivers experiment with that full throttle, and they're going to be brave enough to do so when the grip gets a little higher as the sun starts to set. And that's somewhat interesting, DJ, because we've seen previous races here at Texas go on the afternoon, so you're having pretty hot track temperatures. You're not seeing the sun set by any stretch of the imagination, but tonight it looks like qualifying just a little different, where you can use that grip with the sun setting. As here's Aaron Adcock in the full shade for turn 1.
Yeah, into the full shade. Aaron going to bring it around that first lap, going to put him in 13th place. But as we said here, the second lap's going to be the money lap. Good line coming off of turn 2. Let's see how he sets himself up coming down into turn 3 now.
Adcock, one of the rookies, still in this Sunoco Cup Series playoff field. You can also close in with Colin Forrester as well. So these guys have done a great job of surviving over the first 2 races. Adcock will cross the line, and the driver of the number 23 will put in a 29.749. So that is the fastest that we've seen so far by anybody in the field. But like you said, DJ, still many drivers left to qualify because of the change in track conditions. So the heavy hitters aren't here quite yet. So here's Chuck Phelps in the 75 for Big Fish Motorsports.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say, Kenneth, is the fact of being able to put down some of these good times early on, that can be a little bit of a mental block for the drivers that they know they've got to run up against it, and that can kind of get in their head a little bit. But granted, as I say that, temperature dropping another degree Fahrenheit. It's down to 80 degrees on track. These conditions are absolutely perfect for qualifying.
Yeah, the temperature's changing just a hair, but that makes a big difference out on track. As here's Travis Stevens in the number 2. We also noted that Wyatt Bracken put in a 30.125, good enough for 16th. We're now going to be 17th, but that's his first lap. So we'll see the Cartoon Network Chevrolet make his way out of turn 4 into the quad oval, crossing the line. That is this time 29.872. So not quite faster to break the top 5, but that's good enough to get him inside 7th, just behind Parker Bland in the 18. Wyatt Brackett in season 4 pulled off a great win and a nice battle against Garrett Brown going to the end. He's looking for some similar luck this evening. And DJ, how about the rookie driver, Colin Forrester in the 31? We have seen him do so much good in this series, but the one thing he's yet to check off is a win. Tonight, Texas could be the difference and could get him that golden ticket. He comes into tonight below the 4-driver cut line.
Yes, he does. So he's going to have a good performance here tonight if he's going to want to continue on in the playoff run. Let's see what he's able to do. First lap, looking pretty good there. It was 19th, going to be faster than Dakota Wilson. But once again, the second lap is the money lap here. So for the Fast Banana Racing driver, going to bring his way out of turn 4 right now. No wiggles out of the car. That's going to be very, very good for Forrester. Going to cross over the line here at this point and jump up to V2.
What a great lap by driver number 31, Forrester, up to second, still yet to break Aaron Adcock's 29.749. That's a great lap. Forrester going to be looking for some track position early, as here is Mario Miranda, the defending winner of Texas Motor Speedway, led 23 laps in 2022's edition of this race that was a little longer at 150 laps, but the 99 of Miranda comes out of turn 4. And it looks like he will cross the line. We'll see what lap he puts down. The defending champ, Lawson Peel, who's put in a 29.756 to get him to second before the driver of the 99 in Mario Miranda. We'll see exactly what he puts down on the second lap. I think he did have some problems. It was a 29.792 as he came across and spun out in turn 1. That should be good enough for 5th.
I'll tell you who was able to just pip him to the line there. That's Gary Sexton. And as we've talked about here a little bit behind the scenes, Gary racing on an abnormal setup here, pretty much on a very simple single monitor setup, massively different compared to what he has. And he's put in a time for P4. Watch out for that number 13. That is a statement of intent.
That's great stuff by Gary Sexton. The winner last week at Atlanta off of a last lap, last second pass against his teammate Steven Stempian, 3 wide through the middle to get his first Sunoco Cup Series win. As here is Garrett Brown looking for a little bit of revenge here in Fort Worth. We mentioned that Season 4 battle between himself and Wyatt Brackett. Brown looking to be on the good end of that. He brings the Ford Mustang across the line, and Garrett Brown, still one of the playoff drivers in the 2023 edition of this series. He'll cross the line, and we'll see exactly what kind of lap he puts down before the moment. That is a 29.962. That's going to put him pretty far in this field as we look at the rest of the drivers that will qualify. As the timer ticks down to the last 10 seconds, we've got our field pretty much set here in the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200. So qualifying comes to a close. We'll take you trackside and bring you the starting grid where rookie driver Aaron Adcock gets his first pole of the season at a 29.749 for Big Fish Motorsports. Drinking Bros Racing represented by the defending series champion Lawson Peel on the outside of row number 1. Colin Forrester, playoff driver, looking to advance into the round of 8. He starts tonight from 3rd. Gary Sexton in that abnormal setup that we'll talk about in detail in just a little bit. He starts the 0G Ford Mustang in 4th place. Mario Miranda in the 99, defending winner here at Texas, looking for 2 in a row in the Lone Star State. Justin Winters with a great qualifying time, 29.808 to put the SKM's Chevrolet inside the top 6. Nitro Motorsports with Isaac Mock in the 47 starts in 7th place. Austin Reedy in the 96 car will round out the rest of the drivers inside your top 8, and then concluding the top 10, the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith and the 19 of Brad Fulham.
Working our way back down through the field in row 6, it's Steven Stempian there, who we talked to before the race, and the other Nitro Motorsports driver, Kip Beasley, will be starting to his outside in P12. Justin Erb, one of the playoff drivers here, going to be rolling off in row 7 alongside Parker Bland here, there in those positions. Then 15th, it's Wyatt Brackett, followed by Brandon Banks for DBR in P16. P17 is going to be Curtis Kelly. And then Ross Harlow rolls off 18th there for SKM Racing. 19th will be Sean Kalis, and Alex Muscarello rounds out your top 10.
Richard Swavely in the number 32 will be in 21st. 22nd goes to Travis Stevens in the number 2 car. The 4 of Chris Shoemaker rolls off from 23rd, but we just got word from race control he will get an end-of-the-line penalty at the start of this race for disconnecting after the drivers' meeting. Chris Progar for TOW Racing starts inside the top 24. Garrett Brown is going to try and roll through the field from 25th on the grid. The 85 of Judd Danielson on his outside in row number 13. Ray Rogers in the 11 car. The Toyota Camry is 27. Dustin Reeves for Prestige Worldwide Racing will be right alongside him in 28th. 29th goes to Charles Phelps in the number 75. The 3 car of James Kunkel for Nitro Motorsports is rounding out the top 30. Then goes Dakota Wilson, Bill Schoonover, Joseph Mohar, and Casey Knighton, driver of the 84, to round out your 34 car field here from Texas. So track temp rather cool here in Fort Worth. 80 degrees track temperature, DJ, and you talked about it in qualifying. It makes a big difference for single lap times, but for a race overall, as the sun sets, this track is going to change wildly, and that's going to put in the strategy conversation, and also probably going to help these guys. They'd rather be in the moonlight and the lights here in Texas. They'd rather be under that than the hot sun.
Yeah, most certainly. It's going to help control tire wear just a little bit as they run around. You're still going to have to worry about wear over the course of a run, but you're not going to have to necessarily worry about tire overheating nearly as much. So that's going to throw a little bit of a wrench. But once again, first 2 30-lap stints, I don't think we're going to have to worry about it too much. Watch for that strategy to play out in the final stint of the race, though.
Just got to note that the 30 of Wyatt Brackett, also end-of-line penalty for drivers meeting disconnection. Aaron Adcock and Lawson Peel, the front row, to bring us to the green flag of the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200. cross of the line for lap number 1. Gary Sexton has not missed a beat to the lead in a turn 1. Lawson Peel's second, battle for third underway between pole sitter Aaron Adcock and Mario Miranda. But DJ, what a launch by Sexton to take the lead away early.
Yeah, he was absolutely on it. Didn't want to mess around there whatsoever and put his car into the best position as possible. He knew he didn't want to be running side by side whatsoever. Wanted to get himself into good position and push ahead as much as possible. I like that aggressiveness early on here from Sexton.
And the fact that maybe it could get hard to pass here in Texas over the long run, you want to get track position immediately off of either an initial start or restart. We still maintain the battle for third, make that 3 wide, almost contact there between Miranda and Adcock, and the 23 shuffles into that third place position. Now here comes the rookie Forster to make a move on the inside. Miranda's going to hold back and let him through for the moment. He does not want to be on that outside lane in the turns 3 and 4. But let's talk a little bit more, DJ, about the setup on driver number 13. He is not in his usual sim rig that we're accustomed to seeing him in. No, he's out in Pennsylvania in a rig that's definitely way different from his own. I've seen the rig, direct drive wheel, triple monitor setup. It is absolutely insane if you take a look at it in person. But DJ, he's running off single monitor, Logitech wheel, way different from the one he has at his own house. And then, of course, he's running on satellite internet. So Gary Sexton just certainly looking like he's at the rig at home, like he's comfortable, but he is definitely in a brand new world when it comes down to the sim he's racing tonight.
Well, and let's talk about that for a minute here, Kenneth. I mean, that is completely and totally out of your comfort zone when it comes to racing. These drivers need to feel absolutely comfortable. They need to feel at home. They need to feel like everything is relaxed. They don't want to have to worry about the setup. They only want to have to worry about the drive. And so for Gary to have to be thinking about all of those things in the back of his head and then pushing them out of the way to go racing, really a testament here to the driver of that number 13.
And you gotta wonder how much time Sexton spent trying to acclimate to the new setup, because if you're used to direct drive and you're used to triple monitor setup, you're used to these things that you have at your normal sim rig where you're there each and every week, and even in between when you're in iRacing official sessions or what have you, and you go to a completely different location with a brand new wheel, new monitor setup, you've got so many different factors that could implement into the way you race on the racetrack. And so I wonder how much time Sexton took to try and get used to the setup and then try to dial this in and be as fast as he is right now. We saw Lawson Peel with a bit of an issue early on. He drops back to P4. So here's a look at Parker Bland. A nice battle for 13th. That's Bland on the outside, and there's Kip Easley in the 8 car on the bottom.
Yeah, easily going to be trying to run here as much as possible, trying to see if they're able to work their way on through. Oh, Kip trying to get a little bit aggressive there on Parker, almost a little bit of contact between the two.
Saw that 8 car get the apron, which DJ is going to be something that we'll talk about, and sort of reminds me of racing at Dover, right? You go all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, and if you get a little too over-eager, you can get the left sides on that apron. It slows the car down significantly, chases you up the track, and if you got a driver on the outside, then good luck trying to save that car from getting into the other. You look at Alex Muscarella, he's trying to force his way in on Bland, the 18 car who's still playing defense on the outside. That will not work, so the SKM Chevrolet of Muscarella moves on through. Brandon Banks trying to go to the 15th position, looking inside in turn 1.
Well, and that's one of the storylines that I've been following a little bit here early on. We talked about how this track is going to change over the course of the running. Early on in the race, it looks like that low line is the way to be. As we saw there, Parker Bland absolutely get freight trained up on the up on the high side. Swavely now going to dive down to the inside here and make a couple of moves, working his way up through the field from 17th.
And he slid up the racetrack right in front of the 19 of Brad Fulham, checked them all up. The 5 car, Ross Harlow, take a look at that playoff driver in the midst of that as well. Aaron Adcock now facing a challenge for the lead. The 2 rookie drivers still in the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs are going at it for the point. Peel has maintained in 3rd place, so did get around Gary Sexton, who lost the race lead, and Colin Forrester on the outside has the front position. For a moment, he strikes the outside wall.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. Coming off at turn 4, you've got to be very, very careful. The car is going to want to drift. The rear end is going to want to break away a little bit, and you have got to be absolutely all over it. Banging doors, though, coming through 2.
This is aggressive racing at lap number 11. It feels like it's the last lap here in Texas before Forster's going to clear for 1 second. Aaron Adcock is going to fight back on the inside. And And this is the prime time for Lawson Peel. Open invitation to try and take the race lead away. Forster does a better job of getting off the outside wall this time out of 4. And there's Lawson Peel off the look from Gary Sexton.
And I like this here from Gary. We saw that aggressiveness off the drop of the green flag. Now he's just going to find himself in a position where he can kind of wait and let this play out in front of him. He's got 3 drivers in the form of Forrester, Adcock, and Peel that look very, very aggressive. They want to lead. And so for him, why doesn't he just hold back here, save a little bit, and just continue to save those tires? It's a good call for the 13.
And he's got his teammate behind him too, DJ, so you can imagine that if, let's say, the drivers behind Miranda will try and take a challenge to Sexton or even that 99 car, it's going to be a little harder to get around those two that are working cohesively for 0G. Nice pass on the outside, turn 2, Lawson Peel, defending champ, moves in his second, and now about a couple of car lengths off of the number 31. But DJ, that's something that we'll discuss pretty heavily here over this race, and as it cools down and drivers get a little more aggressive with the more grip they have, when you've got battles like that side by side, as that third car, you can basically do whatever you want to get around them because they continue to lose time. You find yourself in that position where you can take advantage of both of them, knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. It looks like one of those is completed for Peel, and he'll look for the lead next.
Yeah, he's going to be trying to look on it. Meanwhile, we take a look here on board with Steven Stempien, as that's going to be Warren Kyle Keith in the number 24 machine, taking a good run down to the inside. Little bit of a wiggle there for Stempien. Look at his hands coming through mid-corner. Now, we didn't see a big snap of oversteer coming off of the corner that really caught out a few drivers early on. What he's experiencing is just a little bit of mid-corner oversteer, trying to catch it, trying to unload the tires a little bit to get better grip off of the line.
And 81 Stempien, he was talking about the steering pinion that he uses on his Drop in the Hammer podcast earlier this week on Monday. He says that for his setup, he likes to run 2.64. He likes to run pretty differently than a lot of other drivers that like to go for 16-1, whatever the equal is on the next gen setup, which obviously the pinion is way different. But 16-1, you could look at that, maybe 1.83, 2 on the steering rack. But for Stempien, he likes to run a specific type of steering pinion just for these tracks all across the sim, and it helps him be very smooth behind the wheel. Look at those little inputs that he's making, those little corrections. That's part of the steering pinion that he uses with his direct drive setup. Here's Ross Harlow, who has been pretty much, DJ, tracked outside of the top 15. You look on Justin Erb next in the 20, but it's been rather tough for the driver of the 5 to catch up through the field as Lawson Peel takes away the race lead.
Yeah, Peel's going to move himself up into the lead here. A little bit of a wiggle from Forrester from behind as we cross over the halfway point here in the stage. Drivers starting to figure out what their cars are going to be like in this long run as they go. And to your point there about Stempien, really and truly, it all comes down to exactly what we were talking about when we were talking about Gary Sexton. It's driver comfortability. It's whatever makes you feel most at home in the car, and it makes it so that it's something you don't have to think about when you're driving. You're just able to naturally bring it around. That makes everything all the better.
And you can imagine right off of that conversation the challenges that Gary Sexton is having to face right now with his unusual setup that he's not accustomed to racing in. He's faced in a battle with Isaac Mock in the number 47. Sexton has fallen back quite a bit. He was just in front of Mario Miranda before this all started to spiral downhill, so the 13 car letting drivers by, not giving them too much of a fight, but at the same time he's dropping track position, and that is going to hurt, especially when we're coming to the end of stage number 1. Those points are going to be vital towards the push for the round of 8 in the next race at Pocono Raceway. So Gary Sexton, as he continues to fall through, he's getting less points in that top 10 area, especially to non-playoff drivers that are mostly around him.
Yeah, and so he's going to have to be aware of that as he comes down into the pits for what we assume here for the pit stops that will be at the end of the stage, that he's going to have to kind of rethink the way he wants to fight his way up through. Oh, big wiggle there. That was the number 71 of Kelly.
And Kelly out of turn 2 got way sideways, and that was in front of Ross Harlow, now getting put 3 wide in the middle. Ray Rogers pulling his way through on the inside. Justin Winters in that fight for 17th, now going to fend on the outside, side by side behind him. And that was really close, as here is Stempien, or that is Forster rather, Miranda and Austin Reedy. 3-way fight for the second spot.
All right, and it's about to be 3 wide as they go down the back straightaway. Sorts itself out there, but Miranda not waiting around whatsoever. I like that impetus there from him. I like that get up and go. He knows we're closing in on the end of these stages.
And we've seen a lot of movement too, DJ. Over these first 22 laps or so, we saw a bit of some stagnant movement over the first lap, but then as soon as it started to progress, we saw a position change everywhere across the racetrack when it comes down to that race lead. Lawson Peel now up by 0.8 of a second. You look at Warren Kyle Keith trying to push the number 23 of Aaron Adcock clear ahead. That's for P5. The 24 continues his move up through the field after starting in 9th place, but a contact with the 47, and they have really fallen off of the top 4, DJ, because look at the gap between that red car, Aaron Adcock, and the 23, and that car far off in the distance for turn 1.
Yeah, exactly. They have really fallen off here, and I think that push that you saw there out of the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith was less about trying to get the position and more as a little bit of a, hey, hurry it up to Aaron Adcock. They don't want to lose these places to these cars in front.
You can imagine that the 23 of Adcock may have used his tires a little too much over the first run where he took away the race lead. His car is starting to slow down quite a bit, and they are still challenging for these positions. Warren Kyle Keith has not given up quite yet. He wants to put himself further inside the top 10, but he's got Steven Stepien slowly approaching there on the back bumper. Out of turn 2, bit of contact, and Stepien is going to force his way to the outside.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly if that was intended there by Stepien as a little bit of a bump and run, or if that was just unintended by the car getting a little bit loose, but one way or the other, the 81 going to move along to the outside. We ride on board now with Richard Swavely, who's looking right in the back of the pack. Car loose down into the grass.
And that's Sexton on the bottom of the racetrack. You look at Swavely getting around, and this run for Sexton has gone quite horribly for him at this stage of the race. 14th, and possibly falling to 15th with Justin Erm going to swoop alongside. The outside lane, Ray Rogers looking for a position next. Sexton's going to close the door on that endeavor by driver number 11, but Sexton has fallen off and now not eligible to gain those points for the stage, which approaches 4 laps to go. And Lawson Peel leading to the tune of half a second. Austin Reedy in second place, Mario Miranda in third. Look further back at Ross Harlow, who has stepped up to 11th, looking at a battle between Brandon Banks and Alex Muscarella.
Yeah, that side-by-side. Harlow's frankly going to have the idea of being able to pick whichever lane he wants to. Now he's going to be able to carry momentum, roll down to the inside, go to the inside there of the 48 of Muscarella. Almost a little bit of bang of doors again. These drivers are not afraid to get their elbows out early on.
And are you surprised to see a lot of this aggression, DJ? Because it looks like through turns 3 and 4, where you can carry so much throttle, these guys are beating and banging, they're getting loose, they are racing as hard as they possibly can. Are you surprised to see that over this first stage?
Yeah, I am a little bit. I thought with all of the cautions that we heard from the drivers talking about tire wear, talking about how difficult this track was going to be to drive, that this was going to be a situation where we saw the majority of the field trying to hold back here a little bit more and play the long game, but clearly it's all about short run pace here.
And you saw that 48 wiggle out of turn 4, so that opened the door there for the driver right behind in Kip Easley, the 32 Richard Swavely, both of them going side by side. You saw the battle that's still brewing between the 54 of Brandon Banks and the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith. That's for 7th place. Brandon Banks in the 54 for Drinkin' Bros Racing, looking for his 2nd straight top 5 finish here at Texas Motor Speedway. Last year in 2022, he came home 5th after starting in 20th, so one of the biggest movers in that race. And so far, after starting in 16th, it is +8 for Banks. So he's going to continue to move up through the field and try and get some more points. Meanwhile, Mario Miranda looking onwards to 2nd place, the 96 of Austin Reedy, as Lawson Peel stays ahead by 0.7 of a second and is going to look for a stage win.
And I think here at this point, that stage win is pretty much going to be guaranteed. It's going to be a question if Miranda's going to be able to get this move done by the time the yellow flag flies for the stage break. They cross over the line to start on lap 30. Here comes Miranda.
Miranda is charging, but it is not enough. The time has run out. Caution is out by race control, and that means stage 1 is over. Here from Texas Motor Speedway, winner Lawson Peel in the number 12 car, who has led a couple of laps early and is looking for a win after finishing 4th last time we were here. So a pretty aggressive first stage, DJ. I'd imagine that either that's because they wanted to race their hearts out over the first 30 laps, or maybe because they were trying to experiment and see what was going to work. But as the track has cooled down from qualifying to the race, these guys have gone insane.
Yeah, they certainly have. I think this track is a little bit racier than the drivers were anticipating. I think the late start time here has really allowed for a couple things to happen. But I just heard here from our director, Ryan Bauer, that's very strange. Lawson Peel making contact with the outside barrier after the caution had been thrown.
And that was going into turn 1, too. Usually you see drivers hit the wall on the exit of the corner, but not on the entry trying to arc it. So as he was slowing down, Peel hit the outside wall. It looks rather harmless. There is really no damage on the side of that Chevrolet Camaro, at least none to note to affect him aerodynamically. So he escapes that little hit to the outside safer barrier, and he will lead the field onto pit road for the very first time. A really clean stage 1, despite all the aggression that we saw through the field early on. No cautions for incident on track. Everybody kept it nicely tidy. So Peel's going to lead them on in. Austin Reedy second, Miranda third, Forrester fifth, Isaac Mako to run. Then he's built up through stage number 1 as he enters the top 5.
And here as they come down into the pits, Kenneth, I've got to think that this is going to be a 4-tire call for all drivers. I don't really anticipate a lot of drama here in pit lane. Let's see if those right sides or those left sides go up for the majority of the drivers. Yes, they do. 4-tire calls up and down through the field.
It looks like the race off pit road goes to driver of the 12. Second place, Reedy. Third place, Miranda. So no big change out of the drivers at the front of the field. We continue our coverage from Texas Motor Speedway. On the other side, you're watching the Sunoco Cup Series, race number 16 and the round of 12.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
Steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Our coverage continues of the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200 here for the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. Kenneth Bueno, DJ Clark alongside me in the broadcast booth. Brian Bauer, our producer, with images and cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A really crazy first start of the race, DJ. First stage, everybody was all over the place. Battles for the lead galore. And now we go on to stage 2. Are we going to see the same thing pull over into the next 30 lap stint, or is it going to be completely different?
Well, I see no reason why we wouldn't see a continuation of what we've seen thus far here, Kenneth. I mean, bumping and banging and bumping, everybody absolutely getting their elbows out here. And I think until we get a spate of yellows, these drivers are going to continue driving the exact way they are because they've kept it clean despite getting into each other as much as they have.
That's a trend of the race. No yellows over the first 30 laps. The only yellow thrown so far tonight has been for the stage break, so nothing for on-track incident. These drivers have been on the hammer here tonight so far, and they've been doing quite well at keeping it clean throughout. So Lawson Peele, ever since taking the lead in the middle of stage number 1, he has not let it go. He was up by 0.7 of a second over Austin Reedy before that yellow was thrown for the break. And now we're ready for a restart, lap number 35 of 130. So no strategy in the second stage. 30 laps, these drivers can make it all the way to the end, but it's all about how they can perform over the run. The 12 car has been the best when you put some laps on the race car. We'll see if that turns out to be the same this time through. Green flag back in the air, and a great start by row number 1 and row number 2 on the inside. Mario Miranda is able to move over to second. Austin Reedy third. Battle for fourth between Colin Forrester and Warren Kyle Keith at a turn 2.
Yeah, I got to start pushing their way around here at this point. Plenty of fanning out coming down the backstretch. A little bit of too wide as Miranda, not to be denied, moves his way up to the pole position.
You look to the inside. The 12 is wiggling in 3 and 4. He struggled to save that car, and in comes the 96 of Austin Reedy for second, and Mario Miranda to the point for the very first time tonight.
Yeah, Miranda's going to put his way up into the top position there, wanting to try to secure as much as possible and get his way up and forward. There you can see the rest of the field fanning out behind him. Austin Reedy having to deal with a little bit of competition here from Lawson Peele as Peele tries to move his way forward, and everybody here tries to sort themselves out.
6 playoff drivers inside the top 10. You're seeing this huge pack from Colin Forrester, Warren Kyle Keith car, the driver of the 24 onwards. You look at Ross Harlow, Brandon Banks, them going at it for P7, Alex Muscarella, and Isaac Mott going at it for position inside the top 10 as well. These guys all over the place early, and the 23 under fire. Here comes Banks to the inside as Austin Reedy looks onward on the back bumper of Miranda for the lead.
He's going to try to make that move here to the best of his abilities. Let's see. Now he's going to have a little bit of a run down to the inside. Miranda sees it coming, tries to cut him off. He's going to give him just enough space as they come through the quad oval.
And the second time that Lawson Peele is the third car in the battle up front. He took the lead based off of the battle that we had for the top position. He's going to look on the inside of Miranda, but to no avail for the moment. That 99 plays some defense on the outside. He'll let him through into turn 3 and 4. And another new leader in the form of Austin Reedy as the battle continues through the top 10. Ross Harlow falling back a bit. Alex Muscarella on the bottom.
Yeah, Muscarella rolling the bottom line here. We ride on board with Gary Sexton, who's certainly fallen back down through the order a little bit more than he would like to. Going to try to gather everything back up underneath him. He may be able to get a little bit of a run here on Shoemaker, who was very wide through the corner and may have actually made some contact there with the outside wall.
And for Sexton here, DJ had a really good start to this race, then began to fall back, got outside the top 10 at the end of stage number 1. What alternatively does he have to do in stage number 2 to try and get back up to points paying positions?
I mean, I think he has just got to maybe get his elbows out a little bit more at this point. That was the big storyline from the first stint of this race, from that first stage. And I think he's just got to get his elbows out a little bit more to be willing to fight it out, just as Parker Bland was doing, giving a little bit of a bump there to Gary.
And you notice there the aggression in stage 1, that 13 seemed to have it the first half of it, and then began to just fall back as the car began to lose a bit of grip. He started to be a little more conservative in his moves, and that's something we don't see often out of Gary Sexton. He's one of the most aggressive drivers in the field, and he does it well. It's the reason why he's really fast at a lot of the tracks in this Sunoco Cup Series schedule, and now he's starting to pick up some pace. He's going to look to the inside of Richard Swavely, but the run goes to the favor of the outside lane, and in goes through Parker Bland for 14th. The UPS colors shining in the gold spec map. They're 3 wide out of turn 4 as they look back up to the race lead.
Yeah, that's going to be Reedy starting to pull away there a little bit from Lawson Peel. Cutting through the grass there. I couldn't tell who that was. That may have been the number 7 machine of Chris Progar as they now try to fight their way around. And remember what we said earlier on here, Kenneth, that it looked like that high lane was a little bit rough off of the initial start of this race. Well, now it's coming into its own. The track continuing to change, continuing to rubber up here, and drivers having to learn every lap as they go.
And surprisingly enough, you'd probably couple that with cooler track temperatures, but in fact, it warmed a bit. It was 80 degrees when we started this race. It's back up to 81 with air temp at 77. So this track is changing grip-wise, but in terms of the air and track temperature, it's not changing all too much. In fact, it's getting a little bit warmer as the race has gone through and as the night has fallen. Here from Fort Worth, Texas, Ross Harlow is still trying to hold on to a spot inside the top 10. And DJ, he's been somewhat all over the place because he started this race in 18th. He's moved his way up through 7th, off of the pit stops at the end of stage number 1. Now he's back to 10th. He has been pretty much in every single scenario that you can imagine as he falls back and lets Kit easily have it.
Yeah, a bit of a yo-yo here. Ooh, big damage to the back there. The number 4 there of Shoemaker, or the front rather. Look at that. The front end of that Mustang absolutely done in there. That's gotta be hurting.
And you look at that, the aerodynamics playing a factor in turns 3 and 4, and that matters a lot more, DJ, at a track like this at that part of the venue, because in 1 and 2 you're slowing down a bit. Sure, the aerodynamics probably aren't as useful, but then in 3 and 4, where you're mostly on the throttle, especially on fresh tires, a ding like that on the front end can slow you down significantly, because if you go on the back straight away, you're full throttle here, you lay off the throttle a bit, but then you're backing it quickly with the amount of grip you have in 3 and 4. It's just so tough when you have that damage on it.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to keep up that maximum speed. These cars are very, very aerodynamically sensitive. As we ride on board with the 10th place driver at Kip Beasley, a big battle taking place in front of them there. Adcock, Muscarella, and Mock all trying to sort themselves out.
And back to that conversation of cars being aerodynamically sensitive. Well, you don't want to pick up damage at the track we're going to next. Pocono Raceway, the 2.5-mile tricky triangle. That's going to be heavily dependent on aerodynamics, so you want to make sure you avoid damage. But that's a conversation for another day. Battle still on for 7th. Muscarella getting the grass a little bit on the quad oval, but no harm, no foul. And he will have the push from Aaron Adcock back into turn 1. But what a run by Isaac Mock, DJ. He's been able to nicely slice through the top 10. He's back in 8th right now and putting up a fight of his life for Nitro Motorsports.
Yeah, he's putting up a very, very good fight, and I want to give some credit here to these drivers. We're seeing bump drafting around Texas. Now, I did not necessarily anticipate that. I thought that they were going to get too squirrely, carry a little bit too much speed into the corners, and it was going to throw them off. But they're making it work here, Kenneth.
And those habits from Atlanta haven't died off, I'm assuming?
I mean, maybe. That could very well be what it is.
They got so used to bump drafting at a 1.5-mile track, they're doing it at an actual 1.5-mile intermediate oval. But it's working, and we're seeing a lot of great battles on the track right now. Before the top 10, they have single-filed out. Austin Reedy still holds on to the lead to the tune of 0.3 of a second. Caution out, and it's Gary Sexton who finds trouble in turns 1 and 2.
Oh, Gary going around there at that point. Not what he wanted to have happen on that sort of stranger setup than he is used to. Let's see what happened. I think that's maybe a little bit of contact here with the number 7 of Chris Progar.
I'm going to correct myself. That's 3 and 4 that he found himself in that spin. He's on the outside of the racetrack there. And yeah, just gets clipped by the 7 as he was going in. I think DJ thought he was clear in front of the 7, but he wasn't quite, and the 7 just gets into him.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. As we take another look at it here, we're going to ride on board with Curtis Kelly, who had a really good kind of bird's eye view of everything. As here you see Sexton coming down into the corner, and I think you called that absolutely right, Kenneth. He thought he was clear and just wasn't.
And margin of error very small on a call like that, as he thought he had enough speed to get around the Fastenal Chevrolet. He does not. Sexton goes around, and that is the first caution for on-track incident that we see here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. Drivers on pit road and a different call from everybody else. One of those is the 4 of Chris Shoemaker. So we mentioned that front end nose damage that he had at the beginning portion of stage number 2, where he's trying to diagnose that and get it fixed. Isaac Mock as well, DJ, also on pit road. A surprising call by the 47.
Yeah, not exactly what I would have anticipated here for a planned call, but it may be a little bit interesting. Trying to get some fresh rubber. I'm going to be keeping my eye here on Isaac Mock. He may be able to slice through the field here in the final 10 laps or so of this stage.
And we'll keep an eye on the Nitro Motorsports Chevrolet, and also of note, playoff drivers. Of course, Gary Sexton, involved in that incident, has gone in, but so has Wyatt Brackett. He has not faced trouble at all tonight, but the Cartoon Network car has come in. So a different strategy there in the middle of stage number 2. Let's talk to the stage number 1 winner, Lawson Peel. Lawson currently running second right now, and you've been running fantastic, no doubt about it. You've been slicing through the field. You've had a chance at clean air. What has it been like to drive Texas tonight, and the dynamic of this field? Because it's felt like that first stage, the fireworks were everywhere.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Pretty comfortable, able to do pretty well in that first stage there. Obviously, it gets loose off of 2 as you go on, so you got to watch that and kind of deal with that. I think the leader in clean air, is definitely more susceptible to getting loose after a few laps versus if you're kind of in someone's wake in the dirty air. That's going to keep you a little tighter. So the draft on the straightaway is big too. You're sucking up to the car in front of you on the front stretch quite a bit. So, but I'm having fun. I like night races. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes here. Happy to get stage points there in that first stage. Obviously, starting a few points back this round, so stage points are going to be important with only 2 races per round here. So got off to a good start there in stage 1. Hopefully we can continue that and just keep our track position.
Got the points there in stage number 1. You're running second behind Austin Reedy right now in stage number 2. I know you two are good friends. You guys have fought a lot on the racetrack in sim, whether it's the Sunoco Cup Series or any other league across the iRacing service. But now as we approach the final 10 laps of the stage, what are you going to do to try to get around him to sweep the stages tonight?
I don't know. We'll see. He's pretty good at 1.5 miles. He's similar to me in that regard. But yeah, I always have a lot of fun racing with Austin. We're pretty good buddies and always have some good battles. So we'll see if he leaves the door open in any kind of form or fashion here. We'll be looking to capitalize. But obviously wouldn't be disappointed coming home right here at the end of second stage. My teammate Brandon Banks is up to P4. Good to see him running well here. So certainly looks like he got the cream of the crop right up here around the front. This top, top 6, 7, 8 drivers.
You gotta be happy. Drinking Bros Racing performing here tonight in Texas. Lawson, we'll let you get set. No, the lights are off on the iRacing official pace car, so we'll let you get focused for the restart here, lap number 53. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the race, guys.
So that is Lawson Peel, winner in stage number 1. Going to be looking to sweep the stages here at Texas. Here's a look at the entire driver wall that you're seeing, and you can see all of their reactions and how they're getting ready for this restart. And DJ, I want to mention one thing about Lawson Peel and some of the competition that he has around him. He was one of 4 drivers to lead 20 or more laps last time we were here at Texas with a 25 lead change race. And we've had many of those tonight, so we're probably going to see a little more.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're maybe eking our way into breaking that record here tonight. But remember, we've got to keep our eye on some of these drivers farther back down in the field, the like of Isaac Mock, Parker Bland, as well as Curtis Kelly, Dakota Wilson. These drivers that came in to get a fresh set of tires here. I'm going to be very curious to see how they're going to handle off this restart.
And that's everybody 25th on back, so it's led by Parker Bland. You look at Isaac Mock there in the 47. 2 playoff drivers, Wyatt Brackett, Gary Sexton. Those guys are going to be ones to watch for. And so you're right, DJ. You got to keep an eye on what they're going to do. They're probably going to stay out here in this next stage. And we'll see exactly how that sort of unfolds in the longest stage of the race. 70 laps next up for stage number 3. But to close off stage number 2, Austin Reedy, Lawson Peel bring us back to green here from Texas Motor Speedway. And once more, that outside struggles to pick up the pace before turn 1. Peel is the lone car on the outside lane, other than Colin Forster, about 2 or so spots back. He settles in a battle with the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith, as here comes Miranda, looking for the race lead, but thought better of it. Stays behind the 96.
Yeah, going to hold on behind the 96 here. We're going to have a little bit of side-by-side between Miranda and, between Warren Kyle Keith and Lawson Peel. As they came off of turn 4, they were able to sort themselves out. But watch out here. Miranda is stalking his prey right now. He knows he wants Austin Reedy. He wants that pole position. Backs off a little bit going into turn 1, but that allows him to rocket off of turn 2.
A masterful job on the exit for Miranda to get the inside as Reedy bounced up the track. Miranda's going to look on the inside. Reedy's going to fight hard and pinch him down to the bottom of the racing surface. Here comes Warren Kyle Keith and Lawson Peel. That fight not over yet. Going to be coming down to 5 laps to go in stage number 2. And no convincing leader back to turn 1.
No convincing leader at all, but that's going to be Miranda down to the inside, Reedy to the outside, right in front. Warren Kyle Keith just basically gets to pick a lane and follow it here at this point. Thought about making it 3 wide. Now he is going to make it 3 wide.
The 24 on the inside, 3 wide for a split second. Now side by side with Mario Miranda. The first time we see the Team Watson Racing Chevrolet up at the front of the field. And this 24 as a non-playoff driver is in a sea of drivers running for the championship. Reedy's going to have to hold them off a couple of more times around Texas Motor Speedway. And Warren Kyle Keith clears for second.
Keith on a good run here at this point. Is he going to be able to carry that momentum, get another big launch going down into turn 3? Certainly looks like he's going to try for it. He likes that lower line there. Look how he's about a lane and a half, or about a half a lane lower on the track, flirting down with that apron, as that's going to allow him to get another good power off the line as they come through the quad oval. Here comes Warren Kyle Keith.
24 car on the inside, challenge for the front spot. Lawson Peel now under fire by Alex Muscarella. The 48 car has burst out of nowhere, and he gets way loose coming out of turn 2, and he saves it. Reedy back to the bottom, blocked by the 24 into turn 3.
Oh, that almost had disaster written all over it in about 18 different languages, but somehow those drivers able to keep it together. Now we're right on board with Miranda, who's trying to take advantage of that little bit of squirreliness.
It's very risky, though, for these guys in the playoff field, because you're racing hard with a non-playoff contender, and the last thing you want to do is soil a race before you have the opportunity to get some crucial points to move into Pocono. Side by side for second. The 96 going to hold on. A bit of contact between himself and Miranda. DJ, we've seen that before.
Yeah, we certainly have there, and Miranda trying to avoid that. I've got to think these cars don't want to be banging on into each other here, but they are just running so close, so very aggressively. Oh, car up into the wall.
Brandon Banks in the 54 in trouble. And Peel mentioned the top 4, Drinking Bros Racing occupying 2 of those spots, and it's a hard hit to the wall for Brandon Banks, who just got it out of turn 4 in a battle with Ross Harlow. That was just around the exit of the top 5, just around the top half of the 6th place car, 7th place all the way back to 10th as we're battled for the lead, or for second rather. Miranda under the number 96 of Reedy as we'll cross the line. Stage number 2 will come to a close. Photo finish for second, and the yellow is thrown. Warren Kyle Keith out of nowhere takes stage number 2.
You gotta kind of love that, to see a non-playoff driver able to take a stage victory here in a stage race, in a playoff race. Kind of incredible there, and Warren Kyle Keith going to be riding very, very high after what was a fantastic run to the end of that stage.
Well, a lot of drivers do not like the new version of Texas Motor Speedway, but we are enjoying the action that we've seen here all night long. The racing has been incredible. Battle for the lead was on all the way to the very end of stage number 2. And that will bring us our 3rd overall caution of the night here at the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200. Now think about, DJ, the drivers who did come down on pit road under the caution that was brought out by Gary Sexton. Are they looking to stay out here, or have they put in enough laps on their tires that it's not worth it to stay out any longer?
Well, I was taking a look at those drivers. I was expecting them to be able to rocket up through the field. They've stayed exactly where they started. They're still all clumped around in 23rd, 24th position. So I don't think the tire wears nearly as much as we anticipated it here at Texas. So my guess is that we're going to see the likes of Parker Bland and Isaac Mock come down or stay out as the rest of the field comes around. But let's take a look here. Parker looks like he's going to be coming in, I think. Mock may be as well. Couple of late calls there. Parker Bland going to stay out. Isaac Mock going to stay out. But it looks like the majority of those drivers that made the call are going to come back in.
And we'll look for Gary Sexton, who's going to get a wave around here, but whether he stays out is also going to be something to take note of. Wyatt Brackett, playoff driver, has stayed out, so he's going to be joining all those guys in front that have not come down pit road this time by. Meanwhile, battle off of pit road, we saw Austin Reedy just behind Warren Kyle Keith. He's going to get out in front. How about a 4-wide battle, 3-wide battle, then turned into at the commitment line coming out of pit road. And a great race all the way to the line. Warren Kyle Keith, though, takes position over them all. Lawson Peel, Austin Reedy ahead of him for the lead out of pit stop. So we'll take a short break off of stage number 2, but stage number 3 on the other side for the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs and the round of 12 here from Fort Worth.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
needed F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my 2 latest creations, the MPI Sync Chassis and the MPI Foldable Stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included, what it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you want, if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI wheel stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
First 2 stages complete here from Texas Motor Speedway. Coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs is brought to you by SK Sim Racing. SK Sim Racing has been a proud sponsor of the Sunoco Cup Series and offers a wide variety of services to get you up to speed on your sim racing game. For sim racing products, Kalis Synthetics AmSoil, and all the latest news around the sim racing world, you can go to sksimracing.com. Boy, DJ, the first 2 stages have been electric. Passes for the lead, passes in the middle of the field. Now we've got strategy off of the second stage. We've got a couple of cars that are staying out, including playoff driver Wyatt Brackett. And you talked about track position versus fresh tires. Talk to us about that.
Well, we're going to have to see how this plays out here at this point, Kenneth. We didn't see the tire wear that we necessarily expected over the course of the running of that second stage. If we did, the likes of Isaac Mock, Parker Bland would have absolutely skyrocketed through the field. So as a result, they're going to stay out here. I think if they can make it on one more stop alone, they could be contenders by the time this race ends.
Now, a big note, a lot of these drivers who are staying out have not had a share of the front of the field. Now, is that going to play a factor, and how much speed will the guys behind them, Austin Reedy, Lawson Peel and company, gain off of this restart after putting a couple of laps in? We'll just have to find out. Green flag in the air, beginning of stage number 3 here from Texas Motor Speedway. And once again, the outside line struggles to stay even with the race leader going into turn 1. Curtis Kelly slots in a second. We are almost 3 wide out of turn 2. Lawson Peel looking underneath Ross Harlow. The 48 loose out of turn 2, crashing on the back straightaway. Steffian is sideways, so is the 46. Caution is out the second time we have a crash. out on the racing surface. And there's the 81 of Stepien, the victim in it all, and one of the playoff drivers.
And that is not what they wanted to have happen. That is really the detriment of starting farther back in the field off of restarts such as this. We're going to watch that 81. This was really just a place where Stepien had absolutely no place to go. Great catch there with 48 getting loose, and then the stack up from behind. I think that was the 32 that tried to take a little bit of avoiding action. That's Richard Swavely, and as a result, that avoiding action is what led to the domino effect.
Yeah, that 48 just began a whole chain reaction. You watch that bright yellow 48 number on the top side of the Chevy. You see him dart down the track, and that's a beautiful save. But as Richard Swavely's trying to get out of it, there's the contact that he makes going up the track. And I'm not sure, DJ, whether it was just fully avoiding the 48, but you saw him get loose out of the corner. I also wonder if that's just a phenomenon that happens with these next-gen cars where you think you have it saved, you plant the throttle back in, and the car just shifts to the right.
I think it's a little bit of a combination of the two there, Kenneth. I think he was loose coming through the corner and then was trying to bring the car as hard as possible over to the right to avoid contact there with the 48 of Muscarella. And as a result, those two inputs just kind of combined in the worst way possible, and that's what speared the car off to the right.
Here's a look at Chuck Feltz. Great job avoiding all of that. The contact happens vertically, basically right in front of him. And the 75 gets through as the caution waves here with 64 laps to go. Now, DJ, this is good news for those guys who stayed out on the caution break, because not only do they have the opportunity to save some fuel, they also have the chance to not wear their tires down further after putting in what is now 17 laps in their stint.
Bingo. That is absolutely mega here for them at this point. Now, Wyatt Brackett did lose a position here to Austin Reedy, but other than that, your top three remain Bland, Kelly, and Mock, three drivers that all made that alternate strategy call.
Well, the beautiful colors of the UPS Chevrolet leading this race so far. We'll talk to Parker Bland before we get back to green flag action here from Texas. And Parker, you're one of those drivers who came down under one of the most recent cautions. You stay out here. Talk us through that specific plan and how you're planning to stay up here at the front of the field.
I just saw Isaac do it, so I figured, wouldn't hurt to just have some friends also doing it. Seems like it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it looked like it worked perfectly because you guys are at the front of the field. You're leading this race. You've got some clean air. But talk us through, the things that you're feeling right now behind the wheel with the Austin Reedy, Lawson Peel, and all of those drivers behind you who have been up front for most of this race. And now you four or so have a chance at leading this field and trying to play a little defense.
I definitely am a tiny bit nervous. I know I probably won't keep the lead for very long, but the longer I can stay up front, that'd be a lot nice.
Are you trying to plan any restarts here, Curtis Kelly, Isaac Mock? Or have you been in communication with them at all through these restarts and through this strategy plan?
No, I've just found kind of being random in the restart zone kind of helps when you're up front. Not really giving them an opportunity to guess when you're going to go.
All right, well, it certainly makes sense. You'll have the lead here on the restart in about a couple of laps. I think the lights are still on for the pace car. Talk to us about this scheme, because we love it. It's a beautiful scheme. The UPS colors under the lights at Texas, I think it certainly fits. Just talk to us about the paint scheme and the "We Want to Race the Truck" on the side of the car. I love it.
Well, I had the full gold chrome paint scheme last season, and I really loved it. So I told Steven Sempe to make me one with chrome flames because I felt like that would pop really nice, and it came together really well. And it would be awesome if iRacing is listening to scan a UPS truck.
Oh yeah, just memories of NASCAR 06 when they put the truck in the game. That was a lot of fun. Maybe they do that in iRacing. But Parker, we certainly appreciate the time. We'll let you get focused here for this next restart here from Texas. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, man, no problem.
So that is Parker Bland, driver of the number 18, winner of the Big Bracket Challenge earlier this season at Daytona, and looking to lead this race a little more here with Curtis Kelly on the outside of row number 1. So you made the point, DJ, that Austin Reedy was able to break into the group that did stay out for the most part. He picked up at least one spot there or so. Now he's going to be on the outside of row number 2, and this might spell trouble because that row has not been able to go all race long on the restarts.
No, it certainly has not. We've not seen the outside lane come to play off of the restarts. It starts to develop about 3 or 4 laps into the race, but right off of the downbeat, it's certainly a little bit different and a little bit more challenging for a lot of these drivers to get everything up to speed. So we're going to have to see how that plays out here at this point. Reedy could find himself in a little bit of trouble, and if that's the case, that could actually spell really good news here for the likes of Bland, Kelly, and Mock, as they're going to have one of their contenders who's on that fresher rubber. Not really that much of an equation.
Yeah, 100%. Just an update, Joseph Mohar got an end-of-line penalty, so he's going to be at the back of the field. Gary Sexton, who picked up a wave around on the last yellow, he is now up to 24th. His teammate who was involved in that incident, Steven Stempian, has dropped back to 26th place. So the cars who have stayed out are still at the front of the field. It was an early caution that helped them keep the track position. But if we go green, how long can they last? Parker Bland and Curtis Kelly in row number 1 bring us to the restart zone. We're back under green from Texas. Good jump into 1 and 2 by Bland. A better restart by the outside lane overall. Curtis Kelly's able to hold on to 3rd. Isaac Mock sneaks in for 2nd. Miranda's in the wall up the track.
Oh, and we've got another big pileup coming down the back straightaway. Caution flag in the air.
Caution flag out again. Another restart crash involving multiple Ford Mustangs. Looks like Chris Shoemaker, Dustin Reeves. Among those that got involved, Sean Kalis, Gary Sexton picked up damage there as well. And here's a look at it. It started with the Twisted Tech Mustang. DJ, what happened here?
Oh, that was Aaron Adcock that got into the back there of Miranda. Miranda tried to save it, barely did. Maybe a little bit of contact there from behind, but I think a reaction incident taking place on the outside lane as drivers saw Miranda moving up the track and trying to lock that car down. And I think as a result, that collected some cars up on the outside.
Look from the rookie Adcock on the inside of the racetrack. He gets the run on Miranda and sees the space, but the line just sort of backs up there. You saw Ross Harlow check up quite a bit. The 99 got into him and then gets into the 23 car, and as they're trying to check up for it, Dustin Reeves comes up the track and they hook the 43. Sean Kalis, who catches the 75 of Chuck Phelps. A predominantly Ford Mustang incident. We see more of them involved in this caution than other manufacturers, unfortunately. There's Chris Progar, who found a way through it.
Yeah, found a way through it here at this point. He was going to be able to get his way into position, and unfortunately they're just not really able to avoid it too much. We ride on board with Progar. Yeah, I mean, he was able to get out of it, maybe a little bit of front contact damage there at that point, but able to move his way by just barely. Thank his lucky stars.
He is the 0G teammate that escapes lucky off of that incident. Miranda and Sexton, a pair of those drivers on the same team, not as fortunate. So that drops Miranda all the way back to P22. So the Ford Mustang is going to have to try and catch up through the field, and that's going to be a big order there for Miranda, DJ, because we talked about it. Fresh tires have not been as effective as we probably expected it to be. Track position has been so vital here. So for Miranda, what once was like a little hill to get up to the front has turned into an absolute mountain. As you watch him back now, 23rd on the grid.
Yeah, he's really going to have it all to do here at this point. But granted, if anybody can do it, let's not discount the fact this is Mario Miranda. He is one of the most skilled drivers here in the field, and he'll be able to move his way forward.
That's true, but again, still tough order, and that 99 car is going to have to work a lot. He came into this race the leader of the playoff standings off with a great round that he had a couple of weeks ago. Nashville Super Speedway was a race win. Atlanta Motor Speedway didn't go the way he wanted it to, but it stayed in the way where he could just kind of run his own race, and even if he did have some problems, he can move forward, and he did have some good playoff points. So certainly for Miranda, not as good of a start here tonight from Texas. Still some time though, 58 laps remaining. Let's bring in the driver of the 23, Aaron Adcock, who was slightly involved in that incident, getting into the back end of Mario Miranda. And Aaron, just walk us through what happened there on that incident in 1 and 2.
Yeah, I just misjudged it whenever I was going into 1 and 2 there. Mario was checking up and I was slowing down as well, and I just tapped him in the back end. I didn't mean to. It wasn't anything intentional or anything like that. Just tough racing on restarts, trying to get everything you can.
Well, nonetheless, you're still running inside the top 15. You picked up stage points all the way through the night, so you really haven't missed a beat. How has this race been for you mentally behind the wheel as you're trying to be one of the rookies to advance into the round of 8?
It's tough. This field is not a bunch of slouchers. You got to be on your game at all times, and that's what aggravated me so much about getting into Mario there, is because now it just put me a little further back in traffic and just got to work that much harder to get back to the front, and you can't make mistakes around these guys. So hopefully we got all this out of the system, and we can make a run for it these last 60 laps.
I was about to ask, are you expecting somewhat of a flurry of yellows to close off this race, or you're just gonna think about a long green flag strategy to get us to the end?
I'm hoping we're gonna go green here and stay that way. Yeah, my focus is mainly on the long run here, and if we get a caution kind of late, then that kind of puts everybody on the same playing field, and then you just got to have the track position. So just going to do what we can, try to get this American Grid Apparel Chevrolet up to the front and try to have a good finish tonight.
Well, it's been a good race so far, Aaron. We'll let you get back for the restart. Best of luck and appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So that's Aaron Adcock, driver of the number 23 for Big Fish Motorsports. He is 15th right now, so he's going to have to get around some non-playoff competition if he wants to get up to the sea of playoff runners at the front of the field. So again, DJ, good news for the drivers up front. They're seeing the yellows come out one after another, and they can just hold on and be like, hey, we're chilling up here. We don't have to worry all too much.
Yeah, indeed they can. This is great running for those likes of it. The only driver that's having a little bit of problems here at this point, Wyatt Brackett, who's fallen down to 6th place. He's going to be starting on the outside lane. Again, watch for Brackett to maybe lose a couple more positions as this restart gets going, as that outside lane has just struggled over the course of today.
Yeah, they really have. Once that leader gets to jump into turn 1, that first driver on the outside of the front row just cannot replicate the momentum, and so they stack everybody up. And you look at Austin Reedy, who at one point led this race and almost won stage number 2. He's gonna have to deal with the effect of what the 47 does when we get the green. Into the restart zone again, and the 18 car jumps out in front. Second place might go to the 71 of Curtis Kelly before turn 1, and it stacked a bunch of drivers up there. Lawson Peel entering the top 5 into the first corner. Isaac Mock not leaving second without a fight, but he cannot hold on to it. The 71 gets through the position, and it looks like we are clean out of turn 2 on the back straightaway.
All right, for the first time in 2 and 3 restarts, we are able to do that. Parker Blanket continue to lead. Big move there for Austin Reedy in the number 96, moving up the track, and Lawson Peel says, thank you very much. I'm going to take advantage of that.
And as soon as you slide up on that 24 degrees of banking in turns 3 and 4, you might just say bye-bye to whatever position you were in, because that 96 fell back. The 12 car had the open door. They are still side by side for that 4th place position. This bout still going on for turn 3 as Curtis Kelly tries to mount a run that could possibly get up to the 18 of Parker Bland. And what a run it's been by Curtis Kelly, playoff driver. He gets a big run out of turn 4, and here he goes for the top spot.
That was some great driving there for Austin Reedy, carrying so much momentum, but now he's going to find himself a little bit stagnated here, coming up behind Curtis Kelly and Parker Bland. It's going to check him up a little bit, falling back into line just a little bit. Isaac Bach dropping down to 5th place here as they run, and everybody's scattering, coming down the back straightaway.
And Kelly was loose out of turn 2, and now here comes Reedy. 3 wide for the lead. Parker Bland on the outside. Kelly still holding on to the middle lane, and the 12 of Lawson Peel becomes the 4th car in it. Contact on the quad roll.
Whoa, things getting very, very squiggly and squirrely. Somehow everybody's able to hold on to it here at this point, and they're going to push themselves around and get themselves back going. I don't know how we didn't fall under yellow.
How did they save those race cars? 2 playoff drivers almost in trouble there on the front straightaway, and they all keep it together. Also of note, Mario Miranda has moved up to 15th place. He just got in front of the 4 car of Chris Shoemaker, but this race in control of Austin Reedy, but maybe not for long. The 12 car dives on the inside.
Yeah, that's going to be Lawson Peel, and look at this. This is those drivers that made that call, falling back down through the order here at this point as Reedy and Peel are back up to the point positions. They're going to be side by side coming down the back straightaway, although Reedy has a little bit of an advantage.
And really, he had clean air at one point in this race. So has Lawson Peel. So these guys know how good it is to be up at the front of the field and how smooth the car handles when you don't have to deal with cars right in front of you in similar lanes. So they're going to try their dearest to stay up at the front. Now we're in a fight for that third place spot. Isaac Mock really putting the fight up to Curtis Kelly here on the back straightaway.
Yeah, really putting up a big fight here at this point, trying to absolutely do everything that they are able to do. There you can see, though, that's going to be the number 71 of Curtis Kelly, almost drifting up on the line a little bit. He's going to be able to find his way down on the track here as they run, but just trying to see here if anybody's going to be able to sort themselves out. A little bit of a gap starting to develop from about 5th on back.
And we saw that too, DJ, in the first run, and I'd say around the first stage, where we saw the first 6 or so cars have a gap of their own to everybody 7th on back, just because the mid-pack gets so squirrely. Cars sideways, multiple cars. In fact, the 13 on the inside wall, Judd Danielson, Bill Schoonover, Justin Erb among those around, creating a parking lot on the backstretch. Caution is out with 50 laps to go.
Yeah, this has really been the area here at this point. This has been the big problem area. Coming off at turn 2, looks like Gary Sexton, one of the primary players involved in this one. Trying to see there, was there contact? Yes, there was contact between Sexton and the number 11 machine there of Ray Rogers.
That's minimal contact too. Look at the huge hit to the inside wall that Chris Progar faces. Justin Erb going for a spin. Chuck Feltz getting a piece of that as well. Judd Danielson, the 85 car. Here's another look at it from Progar's perspective. The Fastenal Chevrolet sitting right behind Aaron Adcock. Oh, and that's not pretty. Getting the back bumper of one car and then right into the inside safer barrier.
Yeah, right into that inside, and a lot of cars absolutely torn up there at this point. That's not what they want to see, I can guarantee you. Right on board here with Sean Kalis, another one of the drivers who is involved in this. You see Kalis just coming back through the corner here, checking up a little bit. He sees all the calamity playing forth in front of him. He's going to be able to piece his way through. Oh, just barely avoiding that big pile up there to the outside.
Textbook hopping on the binders and just swerving out of the mess when it settles out. So a nice job by Sean Kalis to get through. He knows what it's like to be involved in the incident on the back straightaway. He was in one a couple of cautions earlier, and so he does a good job of getting out of the way and not picking up any damage this time through. And DJ, it comes back to the conversation about track position being so important, because you're so far back in the field, you're more inclined to probably be involved in those incidents just because they happen back there. A lot more guys get in trouble, and that's where you're seeing Gary Sexton and a couple of other playoff drivers have more trouble getting through the field because they keep getting stacked up in these incidents.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily a problem here at this point to get your way back up through the field, to fight your way through the field. It's just accident avoidance that everybody's running into.
It's been really tough for the guys at the back of the field, but one of those at the front, one of the biggest movers tonight, plus 14 since the drop of the green flag, that is playoff driver Curtis Kelly. And Curtis, first of all, thank you so much for joining us under this caution, but how are you feeling now? You were in the same strategy with drivers like Wyatt Brackett, Parker Bland to stay out on older tires. It seems like it's working for you right now, no?
Yeah, we got lucky with those quick yellows the first couple there to equalize the tires a bit. At the front, we just kind of cruised at the back during the end of the previous stage, knowing we were going to flip the stage a bit. It's really hard to make up some track position here, so that's what we had to do after having a rough first stage. That was the game plan from that point on. And just looking to bring it home clean at this point. Didn't get early stage points, but looking good.
Well, stage points can help, but if you finish well and if you get a race win, then that can easily be thrown out of the conversation. And Curtis, I can imagine the racing from behind the wheel on your end must have been insane, because you have Austin Reedy, Lawson Peel, all of those guys around you just fighting as hard as they can to lead this race from Texas. Were you expecting this much animosity out of the field and this much, side-by-side action and aggression through the field?
For sure. The battles out of 4 are always going to be really tight and close. That front stretch is quite the battle zone. Sometimes you come out clean, sometimes you don't. We had some interesting bumps through there, but everybody made it out clean. I thought we were going to have a big one. But nothing surprising. It's all good, hard racing. We enjoy it. But that's Texas. Race is hard.
Certainly so. Do you have any thoughts about what's going to go down these last 47 laps? It looks like strategy might play a factor. Is there anything that you're trying to plan beforehand before we get to the end of the race?
I wouldn't be shocked if we see at least one more caution, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked with these guys if we run it out green here and we have some really good battles. Hoping for a little bit more action on the first end of that spectrum, just to bring our tires back into it maybe later. But I think it's going to be a good battle.
Well, you're running well up front right now. P3 as we get closer to the next restart. We certainly appreciate the time, Curtis, and best of luck when we get the green flag.
Appreciate it.
So Curtis Kelly, plus 14 since the drop of the green flag. Some really good stuff out of him. But also, DJ, some good stuff out of the 5 car. Ross Harlow, you caught up with him.
I have indeed, Ross. A good play here up through the field. How far can you go here at this point?
All the way, man. If we can get some long runs in, I'm really not that great at the short, 5 or 10 lap stuff. We get 20, 25 laps into a run. I mean, I feel like I got one of the fastest cars out here, just able to take care of those rear tires, get that big drive off. The car feels good right now. We're just, taking our time, picking them off one by one here when we can.
Well, very quickly, how crucial is tire wear proven out over the course of this race?
I mean, first stage went from 21st to 10th. Just taking care of the tires. It is absolutely everything. If we're at that point where we're getting the long runs, it's a lot of these guys are going to regret driving it as hard as they did early.
All right. Well, hopefully you're not going to be one of those drivers here, my friend. We'll let you get back to the action, Ross.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
That's Ross Harlow, driver of the 5, who will restart in P6 outside of row number 3. Our producer Ryan Bauer also letting us know about the runs by Steven Stempian and Mario Miranda. They were involved in incidents as of late. They're back inside the top 10. 2 Chevrolets to lead us back to action here from Texas Motor Speedway. Lawson Peel with a fantastic jump to lead the field back to turn 1, with Austin Reedy having to keep Curtis Kelly and Colin Forrester at bay.
Yeah, Forrester's a name we really haven't called a whole lot tonight. He fell back down in the running a little bit early on. His drivers worked their way off of turn 2. Looked like a little bit of slipping and sliding there in the back, but everybody able to get themselves clean. The eye line, we got one car around.
And that's Garrett Brown, back straightaway. Solo car incident, but the yellow flies regardless. Garrett Brown, one of those drivers in the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs, round of 12. He gets involved in a caution here on the back straightaway. Let's look on board with the Prestige Worldwide Racing Ford Mustang, and DJ, from my look, just looks like a bit of looseness out of the second quarter.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. You see that big bobble there out of the car, trying to be able to hold on to it. I don't think that was contact there with the white machine behind him. I think that was just a little bit of a slip and slide moment for the number 16 of Garrett Brown.
And Brown came home inside the top 3 here at Texas a couple of seasons ago with the Gen 6 cars. You see right there, wiggled it once, wiggled it twice, gets hit by Fulham, and a hard hit to the inside safer barrier. So make that 2 cars that we've seen destroy the wall on the inside. We saw Chris Progar there with a big hip check down there as well. So here's a look at it from Fulham. Not much you can do there to slow down. You're expecting the 16 to save it. You know you're going to have to slow down at some point, but it's hard to predict what Brown is going to do behind the wheel. And as he was trying his hardest to save the car, it unravels in front of him, and the caution is out again. So Curtis Kelly called it, DJ. He said, I'm not surprised if we'll see another yellow come out tonight, because we have one driver coming in on pit road. That is Aaron Adcock from the 13th position.
All right, now this is an interesting call from Adcock. We're also seeing Bill Schoonover, Casey Knight, and Garrett Brown coming down pit lane as well. But for Adcock in particular, I kind of like this call, Kenneth. This should be able to get him to the end of the race on fuel. The question's going to be if the tires will be able to last that entire time. So we'll have to see if this will play, if this will work. I'm going to be keeping my eye on Aaron Adcock in this next run.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we again noted that the tire strategy really has not favored those who undercut. We haven't seen them really move their way up to the field all too much. But for Adcock, this could help. I mean, it worked out for Curtis Kelly and these guys. They were able to stay out. Points could help Aaron Adcock here, who has been on point tonight. The first 2 stages finished inside the top 10, has been able to build up his resume in terms of points. Now he can close it off with a really gutsy call right now with 43 laps to go. And DJ, that's going to be very interesting to think about when you consider all of these guys who are out in front, because they're now approaching, 27 laps on their stint on tires, and they cannot make it to the end of this race on fuel nor tires. So if these cautions start coming out, and I mean this race continues to unfold, it kind of puts in a weird pit window for these guys.
Yeah, it really kind of does. It's going to put them in a very, very awkward position. I think if we see at this point maybe one more caution come out around lap, let's say 95 to 100, that should see a scamper for all drivers down into pit lane. But here at this point, not seeing all that many. The only that are coming in are Knighton and Phelps, who I think are getting a little bit of damage repair.
So a couple of drivers on pit road, but this race is controlled by Lawson Peel. Cross to the stripe, lap number 89. Short break here, but you won't miss a thing as we continue our coverage of the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What I'm really proud is that I own MPI, the steering wheel company, and I'm building the steering wheel. This is my creation.
This is yours.
Yes.
It's so sexy.
The steering wheel, it's a very unique thing. It's shaped on the hand of Scott Dixon.
His hand.
Yeah. This grip has 27% more grip feel than suede. Scott in the race is gonna make less effort when he drives. When you're in the car, it's like lifting, it's like having 40-pound dumbbell like this, maybe more in the car.
For how long?
3.5 hours. You know, average heart rate in the car, never below 150. Never below 150. You need to be a real athlete to drive. Yeah. They exercise every day. So this is my creation. Amazing.
Under 40 laps to go here from Texas Motor Speedway. Kenneth Bueno and DJ Clark here to bring you the coverage of the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200 for the Sunoco Cup Series playoffs. Ready to go green here, DJ. Strategy is starting to unfold in a very interesting way.
Yeah, it certainly is, but the strategy is going to get thrown out the window as soon as we get this green flag and these drivers get themselves back to racing conditions.
It's Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy, the driver for Drinkin' Bros Racing on the bottom, the driver for Fast Banana on the outside, ready to bring us back to action. Pace car is down, and here from Fort Worth, Lawson Peel controls the restart back to turn one. A better jump by Austin Reedy doesn't open the door for the second car on the inside to take away second place. Car on the wall and a car around. Gary Sexton involved in the action.
If Gary didn't have bad luck today, he would have no luck at all. This is absolutely the roughest of rough runnings here for Gary Sexton today.
And it looked like there was going to be a break thrown his way because he had found himself inside the top 10 for the restart, and it's a mistake that wasn't even his own to kick things off. It was the 48 of Alex Muscarella, the Lowe's Chevrolet on the inside, gets the grass, gets loose, and bam, right up into the 13.
Yeah, just nowhere for Gary to go there. Absolutely a hapless passenger for him. You've got to feel sorry for him. And just as you said, cutting the grass there a little bit, that's all it was that really brought everything around. And that's what set this massive, massive kerfluffle coming down that main straightaway.
And we've seen, DJ, drivers hit the grass with the left side tires under green. But what was the big difference there that caused the 48 to get sideways?
I think the difference was that he was doing it as he was accelerating. Those rear tires just lost grip there, and that caused the rear end to break loose a little bit.
So you see the 13 getting the damage. That's a pancake hit to the outside wall. Here's a look from Justin Winters, a couple of rows back. So he sees the 13 in front of him, pretty decent gap. But then right about here, he sees that mistake from Muscarella into the 13 car. And Winters just tries to get out of the mayhem. Chris Shoemaker unfortunately gets tagged in it at the very last second, backs up into the outside wall. And here's another look at it from the 4 cars shot behind Wyatt Brackett, which is really interesting here, DJ, because Brackett, a playoff driver, was in favor of strategy earlier on in the race, fell back to the field, and now has to avoid another caution that happens in front of him.
Yeah, very, very hard hit there for him. He is not going to be pleased about that, I've got to imagine. And now he's going to have to work everything back and around as we're going to reset here. Really no changes through the entire field. Everything pretty much exactly as you would expect it to be after an incident like that.
Yeah, not much in this field has changed at all. We're seeing the wave around there. Looked like that was Chris Progar, who's 4 laps down in P30. And so he's gonna come in, looks like around the field, and try and rejoin them. He'll be 3 laps down. It looks like for right now, he is the first driver a lap down or more, but that should change with Gary Sexton and Chris Shoemaker, depending on how long they spend on the pit lane. So Lawson Peel leading this race still, as we close in on 37 laps to go from Texas. We'll try and see if we can talk to the driver in 3rd place for Fast Banana. That is Colin Forrester. And Colin, you've ran well this entire race. You started in 3rd. You're in 3rd right now. What has been the key to success of driving here at Texas as the race has progressed?
Honestly, just being smooth. I definitely messed up that 2nd stage right there. Just trying to push too hard in the beginning and then messed up my tires towards the end, but it's really just being smooth. And then obviously here now with all these cautions, just kind of maintaining position right now, and we're gonna see how it goes the rest of the race. Hopefully we can get some green flag run-ins, and we'll see how it goes.
And you are surrounded by some of your Fast Banana teammates. Does that give you a little more comfort as this race winds down and as the racing has gotten a little more aggressive?
Oh yeah, for sure. I know they're going to give me all the respect in the world. I know some people like to run a little tighter and aggressive, or more aggressive than they do, but I know with them I'll have plenty of room, and we're going to race hard still, but we're not going to race dirty, and we're going to try to get our best to get around Lawson up there.
And strategy is certainly developing in an interesting way as well, because you're now 32 laps in your stint. Are you expecting that this strategy is just going to come down to whoever goes in a pit lane under yellow, or do you think we might run a green flag stint to the end?
I mean, it really just depends on what the cautions are looking like, because I think if we get a 10-15 lap run, you're going to see a lot of people pit, and then some of the people who pit earlier, I think some of them might stay out, so that could make it interesting. But I think it really just depends on the cautions we have. If we keep going like this, I don't expect anyone to pit again, but if we go, like I said, 10-15 laps, I think you're going to see a bunch of people pit, and it might make it interesting.
All right, Colin, well, we certainly appreciate the time. Know you're going to be 3rd on the restart, so best of luck.
Appreciate it.
So that's Colin Forrester, driver of the number 31, and boy, has he been stellar tonight with his teammates around him, so certainly going to help. Mario Miranda got involved on an incident on the back straightaway earlier in this race, but DJ, he has picked the pace up. He's up to 7th.
He's up to 7th. Mario, you've got to be feeling pretty good about these incidents that are firing off in front of you. It's really allowing you to work your way up through the field, and that with your combined pace, looking pretty good.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, and like with all these cautions we've had, that spin I had, you know, I'm still on those same tires, but I've had so many laps to cool my tires back down to where now I'm even with everyone around me, you know, back on level playing grounds. So, you know, I really hope these next couple laps go green. Not next couple, I want like 20 laps green, just so we have an excuse for when another caution comes out, we have an excuse to take tires and we're back on fresh tires, back on even lane playing grounds. Because I'm still worried about the guys behind, about 6-7 spots behind me that have, you know, I think 10-15 lap fresher tires.
Do you think that's going to play out that much of a difference here? I mean, we saw, how long does it take for those tires to really come into their own off of a restart like that?
15 laps. 15 laps is when, if you're not saving, if you're just balls to the walls for all 15 laps, that's when it really starts getting rough. So if, you know, 15 laps is all we need to get an excuse to go down pit lane again.
All right, well, we hope it stays that way. Mario, good luck on the restart. Good luck on the rest of the race, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
That's Mario Miranda, driver of the 99, up to 7th place You made a really good point there. 15 laps before you start to feel those effects on tires, and hence why we saw a lot of drivers move around so early in the beginning of stage number 1. Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy lead us back to green. 35 laps left here from Texas. Fast Banana occupying 2nd through 4th place. 3 of them playoff drivers, and they're going to chase to turn 1.
All right, here they go. Are they going to be able to stay clean here at this point? Let's see if we are able to stay clean off of turn 2. Haven't been able to do it here for the last couple of laps. We are this time, and we are racing full on here in Texas.
And here comes Ross Harlow. Dive on the inside for Curtis Kelly. He'll take away 4th. Mario Miranda will follow him through on the bottom on the front straightaway. So Kelly falls back 2 spots in a matter of 1 single corner. Ross Harlow moves into the top 4. Miranda now giving him a challenge of his own on the inside. We'll see if he's got it. Parker Bland will look on board with the UPS Chevrolet.
Yeah, and I gotta say here, while we haven't seen the likes of Bland and Kelly necessarily stay at the pointy end of the field, their strategy has worked out here. They're still running top 10 as we've got another yellow.
Oh, caution out again, lap 97. Big crash with those in the rear of the field. And once more, it is Chris Progar, Chris Shoemaker, Dustin Reeves involved in the accident. And the same goes for the 75 of Charles Phelps. Let's just look at how it all began. And it turns 3 and 4.
Just a little bit of miscommunication there coming down on the inside. It looked like they thought they were clear as they made, oh, that was a massive lick there for those machines.
That's a hellacious crash. Justin Erb there in the 20. He's got to look at it. That's Aaron Adcock, by the way, who takes a piece of the inside wall. That's not good at all. One of the playoff drivers in the field. And Justin Erb goes hard into the outside wall. That 4-car went for a wild ride. Prestige Worldwide Racing, a bit of trouble at this stage of the race. Here's a look from Shoemaker, who DJ got involved in the last incident for turn 1, and then gets involved in the backstretch.
Sometimes bad luck just seems to follow you around the whole way through. Runs up on the high side here as he goes. There you see the incident taken down onto the inside. You see the 6 just making contact in front of him, and he was the one that absolutely spitballed across the track there.
Well, big crash for many of those guys. And again, no fast repairs in this series. We're gonna have to spend the time on pit road, and we might just add on the list for those that are 1 lap down or more. We do have word. Charles Phelps among those on pit road getting extensive damage repair. A look on board with Chris Progar, who's had a rough race tonight. That Fastenal Chevrolet has not seen the light of day tonight. So here's a look from the 4. You look at Progar there on the outside. Reeves hitting the wall on the inside. That's just a big crash in 3 and 4. So caution out again. Quickly off of the restart. Here's another look from Dustin Reeves.
Yeah, Reeves just very much a hapless passenger there in all of that, getting absolutely bounced around left, right, and center. But that's going to re-rack the field here at this point on lap about 100. And as we continue to watch there, Aaron Adcock, yeah, just tried to hold it onto the inside line as much as possible. Probably avoided some pretty massive damage there. And all things considered, with just how big of a crash that was, Adcock probably walked away the cleanest.
And he had some American grit there to get by that incident. I mean, there was a tough hit there on the inside of the wall. And it looks like the number 23 might take it down pit road. So we'll keep an eye on him as he comes in for damage repair. It looks like he is still out on the racetrack. So it looks like he's not going to come in, but he did pit rather recently. So it looks like he's going to be out on track and going to get settled with the rest of the field. Now, strategy is going to unfold here. Final 30 laps from Texas. I mean, these cautions are obviously helping these guys save a bit more tire and not put as much load on them. But now, as I've been thinking, and as you talked to Mario Miranda a little earlier, how much are you willing, or how willing are you, DJ, if you're a playoff driver up here for track position, instead of taking 4, to take 2 tires? We've seen it happen before here at Texas. But how much of a factor can that play in strategy too?
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. This may be a situation where it's a good idea to take those 4, or to take 2 tires to try to get yourself up ahead. We're going to have to see here, though, if anybody decides to even do it. Because as we talk to these drivers, remember, they said that if we keep getting these every 3 or 4 lap yellows, they think they can make it to the end. But to return to your original point, Kenneth, gotta think that it's going to be a 4-tire call.
Well, looks like tires, have been the talk of the conversation. Track position has been so important, and these guys so far have not hinted at coming in at this point. They have decided to stay out as long as they can. And that group does include the 96 of Austin Reedy, was put in a great race tonight after starting in 8th. Austin, how has this race been like for you? Has it been a lot of fun racing up at the front with these guys?
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. We had some hard battles up here. Hopefully we can get back to some green flag racing here. But up front's been pretty nuts. A lot of tire management tonight, so we'll have to see where the tires are even at now. We've been under caution for so long. I think they're still pretty good, so I think we still got a good race in our hands.
And if cautions continue to come out, Austin, will it be more of an incentive to come in for pit road and get those tires before the end of the race, or is it just more important to stay out despite the old rubber?
Sorry, I blinked out. I think just staying out at this point. I think going back there it's gonna be treacherous. So we gotta see what Lawson, Mario, and Colin want to do. I don't really know right now. I think the tires are still good. I think we better run some of the fastest laps of the race right here.
All right, just trying to gauge the competition on strategy. Rolling off second here when we get the green flag with 29 to go. Austin, we appreciate the time. Go get him on the restart. So that is Austin Reedy, second place. He's going to be that white and blue Chevrolet in row number 1 alongside the race leader. Lawson Peel still has control of this race. Nobody's been able to dethrone him. But again, yellows have come out rather frequently, so it's been a little harder for these guys to make a battle for the front. Pace cars down once more into the restart zone. Lawson Peel will go. He hops on the gas pedal first. We're back under green from Texas and DJ. There's the 3-way battle for second.
Yes, there is. Reedy, Forrester, and Miranda all trying to sort themselves out there. That's going to be, I believe, the 96 of Reedy and Miranda up on the high side, trying to be able to make that work as much as possible. Miranda gets a good run there, but he's going to be a little bit boxed in, nowhere to go.
And as these tires wear down, these cars are going to be a little harder to drive off the corner, especially in 3 and 4. You saw how Austin Reedy almost got a piece of the outside wall there. He's going to be able to clear Miranda before the exit of turn 4. And that 99 car stays on the outside of the 31, Colin Forrester, as your top 5 are all occupied by playoff talent.
Yeah, all occupied by playoff talent here. Kind of exactly what you'd expect here for these drivers as they continue to fight and scrap their way around. Miranda going to be able to get that move done on Forrester. Now he can turn his sights up ahead.
Parker Bland in a battle further back with Curtis Kelly. That is 4-6. So this strategy for them also coming into fruition. Their stage 2 winner, Warren Kyle Keith, not too far behind. Miranda is able to fend off the 31 car. But now how much gas does he have left in the tank to try and strike against Austin Reedy and Lawson Peel? We saw what he did, DJ, to that 96 in 1 and 2, that big crossover. Can he pull it off again?
Well, we've only got time to wait to find out here at this point. He's going to have a little bit of a look from behind there from Colin Forrester. Had a half-hearted think about trying to go down into the corner, but Miranda able to hold it off. Got a little bit of 2-3 wide farther back down in the field, though, as they continue to run.
How about Steven Stepien in the 81 car? We saw him at an incident in the back straightaway earlier tonight in stage number 3. Well, now he's caught in the inside of 3 wide action. Parker Bland struggling on the outside of the racetrack. And almost getting into Alex Muscarella there. There's the 88 of Justin Winters for SKM, the 47 of Isaac Mock. Stepien having a little bit more trouble getting through the field. It's felt like him and Miranda have had 2 different routes up to the front. Stepien a little more methodical, a little slower. Miranda a little more aggressive, but it seems to be paying off more.
Yeah, seems to be paying off more here at this stage, and that may be a little bit of what we see here continuing on throughout the rest of the race. You never know how this is going to continue to play. You never know how this is going to continue to run here at this point. Let's see what they are able to do. Single file here for the moment. That's good running. That's exactly what these drivers want to see.
Peel, Reedy, Miranda, Forrester, and Harlow, your current top 5 here from Texas Motor Speedway as they go for turn 1. We'll approach the final 24 laps of this race. And now, finally, we have a green flag run. We saw a lot of cautions come out very often with the way these guys are getting off restarts, but it looks like at this point, now they're settling into a green flag run, which is very important when you think about strategy. These drivers have gone 45 laps on a stint with 75% fuel. You can go around to this mark, but at some point you'll have to come in. So it's interesting to see what these guys might do now that the strategy is starting to play in.
Yeah, you read my mind about that. We've got another one that's going to break it all up.
Dakota Wilson, driver of the 78, involved on the front straightaway, and does that open the door for pit stops? As the 78 looks like a solo incident, got involved with nobody else on the way there. We'll look at the replay here out of turn 4.
Oh yeah, solo incident there, just loses the car, tried to lock it down as much as possible. Frankly, able to get everything clean and going, but nosed into the wall there, and I think that's going to be what really turned it around and brought out that yellow flag.
Here's a look from Bill Schoonover, driver of the 9, who was just behind this incident with the 78. The Hooter Chevrolet sees the car sideways. Oof, that's really close between those two, but Schoonover is able to get away without a scratch. And Dakota Wilson brings out the caution with 22 laps to go. We see this field behind the iRacing official pace car, but they are approaching pit road entry. And so, DJ, we might see some calls happen here, which is all dependent on track position. And Reedy said in his interview, he's going to watch what guys like Peel, Miranda, Forster, what they do on the track. And on the button, well, here comes Miranda.
Late call there from Mario to come in, and he's going to be left out as a little bit of a sitting duck. Stempian and Swavely going to follow him in, but those are the only 3.
Well, that's a short field to come in, and especially for the playoff guys. Miranda almost all by himself. He has his teammate, Steven Stempian, behind him, but we had a lot of those guys fake out early. And I wonder if that's a penalty there for Curtis Kelly. He got by the cone, but did get out to sort of explain that he was not coming down pit road on a little bit of a fake call. And so 4 tires here for Miranda. He's going to rejoin this race in about 18th spot. So we'll see how he fares and if anyone else comes in later in the going.
Well, and remember here what Mario talked about a little bit here at this point, that he needs about 10 or so laps for these tires to really start to work. If we continue to get cautions like we have been, this is not going to play out well for him.
Well, Miranda's going to have to hope that either more cautions come out and these guys come in, because he's going to be so far back in track position that the strategy move might not play out in the way he would have wanted to. So we've had a couple of cautions here tonight. One of those drivers who has been involved, unfortunately, is the driver behind the 6th wheel. That is Dustin Reeves for Prestige Worldwide Racing. And Dustin, I know it's been a really tough night here from Texas Motor Speedway. Just talk to us about your experience and the incidents that you were involved in this evening.
Yeah, just can't catch a break, you know. Not really anything I could do differently. You know, fast guys on-off strategies, going to the back and then running up through the field, and you know, just unfortunate I was involved in that. Somebody's bad pit strategy, but no big deal. It is what it is, and hopefully we can get a good long 20-lap run here for you guys.
And they're still trying to repair that Ford Mustang, and we see it out on the track on pit road right now. Did you feel that some of the incidents in the back were just a case of the way this track drives and how this track has changed? We've seen a lot of drivers get loose out of turn 2, have problems on the backstretch. Do you think that may be the reason why we've seen a lot of carnage?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that I know that's been a case of people loose off tonight, and there's also a case of people being over aggressive. So somebody kicks it out loose and somebody behind them is being over aggressive. There's not much room for error. So that's definitely a product of this track, but it's been fun. It's not a bad racetrack, I don't think. So hopefully we can see a good finish here.
Well, Dustin, now that Texas Motor Speedway probably off of your list now, Pocono up next on July 23rd. Any thoughts about the Tricky Triangle when you get out there?
Man, I'll try. I'm not good at those tracks. I'm not good at Indy or Pocono, those flat tracks like that. So we'll see. I'll put in a lot of time and try and get better, but I had higher hopes for tonight than where we finished.
Well, Well, unfortunate break here tonight from Texas. Well, we wish you the best of luck as we move forward through the season, and hopefully things are much better at Pocono next week. Thank you for joining.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys rock.
That is Dustin Reeves, driver of the 6, who's had some tough luck here tonight from Texas. He is back in 30th, 13 laps down, still on pit road trying to repair his car, so he's going to keep the fight in it until it's all said and done. So here's a look on board with Mario Miranda, DJ, and his call. This is the field that he's going to have to beat in the next 18 or so laps. Him and Stepien 18th and 19th on the grid because they pitted on the yellow.
Yeah, and the one good thing that they're going to have to take into consideration here is the fact that they are going to have their teammates working together here at this point. They're going to be able to move their way through the field a little bit more and maybe use that teammate to be able to help themselves get forward. But at this point, this is going to be pretty hard. They need this to stay clean and green, which has not been the trend here in the late half of this race.
And we've seen as well 2 different approaches to moving up through the field by Miranda and Stepien. That 99 car, like I said earlier in the show, has been more aggressive, and it has paid off. Steven Stepien has been a little more methodical, a little slower, not as rushed to get up to the front of the field. But now that this race is dwindling down, you might wonder if for Stepien, that might be the only method he has of getting to the front, trying to be as aggressive as possible. They also have playoff driver Aaron Adcock with them in front in 17th position. So out of turn 4, Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy, they've held row number 1 for a little while now. We cross the line for 18 laps to go from Texas.
Long car down to the inside. Car around as well. I think we're going to have another yellow here, Kenneth.
Dakota Wilson in the outside wall. Caution is not out yet. Race control has not thrown it, and I don't think they will. You're riding on board with Mario Miranda, who is able to scoot up to the 16th spot. It's him and Wyatt Brackett into turn 3 as a battle for the lead. Brews on.
Forrester and Peel here. That's going to be Forrester up on the high section. That's Peel up on the high side, trying to roll it as much as possible. A little bit of an internet blank there from Austin Reedy as we stay clean with 17 to go.
Well, mind you, these are Fast Banana Chevrolets at the bottom end of the racetrack, so they will work together no matter what in the closing stage of this race. They are still door-to-door for the lead. Make that side-by-side for third. Behind them, Ross Harlow in the Valhalla Project Chevrolet, looking to make some moves of his own. The 96 breaks free for third place, and we are still even at the line for P1. Peel leads that lap back to 1.
All right, here they go. This is a very, very fierce battle up front, and really what it's allowing to have happen here is that Harlow, Reedy, Kelly, and Warren Kyle Keith not really able to close in on the back of it all that much because they're blocking everything up. But now Forrester going to tuck back into line. The 5 there of Harlow thought about a move, almost opened up the door to Austin Reedy.
Forrester shut that door quite quickly. He did not let Harlow have a chance on the inside in turns 3 and 4, but Harlow gets a good run on the front straightaway. Peel did talk about it earlier in this race, the fact that you can get really good draft off of the car in front of you. You can get a big run going into the corner. It's a better set of corners by the 5 car of Harlow. And to the outside he goes for P2.
Well, you heard him say in that interview a little bit earlier on, he thought he could potentially have the car to do it if he was able to save tires. This is what he's going to need to do. Be aggressive, but be cautious at the same time, and don't over-abuse that right rear in particular.
Harlow, one of the biggest movers out of the playoff grid this evening. He started this race in 18th place, and he is up to the top 3 for the first time all night long. He finished in 6th the last time we were here back in September of 2022. Now up to 2nd he goes, a power move on the outside.
Yeah, big time power move. Now Harlow's going to be able to move down, clear that space, and get himself up into prime position here for this race. He's going to be in P2, closing down on Lawson Peel.
He's going to try and catch up to Peel before this is all said and done. They are side by side, further inside the top 10. Curtis Kelly, Justin Winters going at it for the spot. How about Isaac Mock and Parker Bland? Boy, have we seen, DJ, these non-playoff drivers make a statement from Texas. They have been all over the place inside the top 10, getting stage points, and they have been running so well tonight.
Well, they're just going to show you that sometimes the drivers that make it into the playoffs get there by skill.
Far around, Curtis Kelly inside the grass, and he spins back on the quadruple front straightaway. Nobody gets into him, and he parks it just before the start-finish line. Caution flag with 12 laps to go.
All right, and at this point here, Kenneth, I think this is the point of no return when it comes to pit stops, but let's take a look back and figure out exactly what happened here to Curtis Kelly for Fast Banana Racing.
It looks to be contact out of 4. Justin Winters just gives him the bumper, and around Curtis Kelly goes, and look how close it gets. Right there to Travis Stevens. Traffic on the racetrack, and Curtis Kelly hops on the binders, stops the race car, nobody else gets into him. So the 71 does escape scot-free, but he does drop all the track position, and that is big going into Pocono, because again, DJ, as you look on the board with the number 88 of Justin Winters, it's a 2-race playoff round. You have a bad race tonight. In Pocono, you're on the back foot. You're going to have your back against the wall, and you have to make a lot of points in stages or just go for the win. So for Curtis Kelly, this race has been playing out so well for him until now. Dropped to 25th. He's on pit road, and that might put him in a tough spot points-wise going into Pocono.
Yeah, very well might. He's going to be on the back foot and may find himself into a little bit of a win to get in type of position there for him, which would be quite unfortunate for a driver that has been so good over the course of this playoff run. But now that we're going to get back to everything, 11 laps to go by my math here, which is almost never right, we should be back to green flag conditions with 9 to go, and it doesn't look like any of your leaders here opted to come down into pit lane.
You know, I do think the math is right there. I know we are not mathematicians as broadcasters. We're always seem to be off on the numbers, but I mean, regardless, we're going to have a restart very close to the end of the race, and that is going to be big for those guys up front. Most notably, all of them playoff drivers. Let's talk to the driver of the 88, Justin Winters, who had a piece of that incident there with Curtis Kelly. First of all, welcome, Justin, to the broadcast booth, but first of all, just talk us through what happened there on the incident out of turn 4. Hey, Justin Winters, this is Kenneth Bueno in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, bud. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, yeah, getting into turn 4, I think Kelly got loose a little bit and checked up. Then I checked up for him, and I think Parker got into me a little bit, and then I got into Kelly. And
an unfortunate set of circumstances there with Curtis Kelly out of turn 4, but you're running inside the top 10 for SKM. You and Warren Kyle Keith have had such a great race. 2 of your Chevrolet Camaros inside the top 10 right now. What is the emotions that you have behind the wheel now to try and close off with a good finish here from Texas?
yeah, I just try to stay clean and then see what happens, and try to be safe and stay out of the wrecks.
All right, well, we're getting to a restart. Inside 10 laps to go. Justin, best of luck, and go get him on the restart.
Appreciate it, sir.
So that is Justin Winters, driver of the 88, who is 7th right now, so did get a piece of the back bumper, Curtis Kelly. And with that, he has come down pit road. He has drop-kicked to 24th out on the racetrack, so that's going to be a big shunt for him going for Pocono. As Lawson Peel, I mean, he's been in control of this race, but DJ Ross Harlow has been hot on his heels, and he's not going to go away without a fight.
No, he's certainly not. It's going to be an absolute dogfight here as we continue our way around. They're going to have to be very, very aggressive if they want to try to hold him off. And it looks like we've got the man right here sitting by with you, Kenneth.
And we got Ross Harlow, driver of the 5. Ross, first time in the top 3 all night long, biggest mover out of the playoff field. What's it going to take to get to the win this evening?
Still got to be smart. It's, you know, it's not like we're going green, white, checkered here. Still got to be smart. Still got to take care of the car. I really think I've got the best car up here right now, but we'll see. Lawson might be saving something for the end too. Still haven't really gone for it yet, so we'll see what happens. It's either going to be really, really good or, you know, really, really bad. Either way, hoping for a podium here tonight.
Well, you've been one of the drivers to stay out as long as you have with most of the guys around you. Tire-wise, how is it feeling? Are you feeling any sort of the effects now behind the wheel, or do you think you've saved enough to the point where the car is rather balanced at this stage of the race?
Honestly, she still feels real, real good. If anything, she's just a little bit snug getting out, which I'm all right with right now, as loose as some guys around me are getting. It's a pretty good feeling to be able to, you know, kind of put the power down. Still got to be smart on the restarts. You know, got those cold tires. Just been doing a little back and forth here, trying to keep them from sealing over while we're under caution. But yeah, 1 and 2, it's always kind of a roll of the dice what she's going to do here. But we'll see what happens.
We know it's going to be a great fight to the end, no matter what happens. Ross, best of luck out on track with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate it, sir.
Ross Harlow, second place outside row 1 on this restart, which will be 8 laps to go left here from Texas Motor Speedway. We've had a flurry of cautions in the last half of tonight's event. We've gone green for just a little bit before that caution came out with Curtis Kelly. Can we run this race all the way to the end with Lawson Peel out in front, who will be looking for yet again another win here in season number 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series. It'll be win number 4 if he can get it. Ross Harlow looking for his first win in the playoffs this year. Green flag back in the air with 8 laps remaining. And there's Forrester on the inside. He clears second. We are 3, almost make it 4 wide at the exit of turn 2. Gary Sexton washing up the track. That's Justin Winters, never mind.
Yeah, Winters barely able to hold on to the car there, but they're going to keep it nice and clean. It still continues to be Peel, and then Forrester, who was able to get that move down to the inside of Ross Harlow before everything was said and done. They're going to thunder the line here, 7 to go.
We've seen strength at different parts of this race by either of the drivers up front. Lawson Peel, one of the better guys on the long run. Colin Forrester, he's been here every now and then. Ross Harlow, as of late, has picked up the speed. Warren Kyle Keith, we saw him get the win at the end of stage number 2. Harlow fakes down to the inside. Now he goes to the top as Austin Riddy dives on the inside for 4th.
Good little synchronized move there from both of those drivers. Doesn't look like Reedy's going to be able to make that play, but Harlow certainly is up for P2.
Harlow is there. He is through Mario Miranda on the other side of it. He is inside the top 10. Does he have enough time to break through to the front before this is all said and done? We'll cross the line next time by for 5 laps to go, and your top 2 have broken away. Colin Forrester and Warren Kyle Keith go at it for 3rd.
Yeah, and this is huge. If they can continue this breakaway here for Peel and Harlow while Keith and Forrester continue to fight, that's just going to allow them to stretch their advantage up in front, and this make it a 2-car fight for the lead.
Yeah, 150%. Ross Harlow as well. I mean, he talked about it. The car does feel a little bit snug, but he's been wondering if Lawson was saving enough for this last run. Well, it looks like out of turn 2, benefit goes to driver number 5. He is closing in on the leader as Miranda dives on the inside. He breaks through to 7th.
Yeah, Miranda may have gotten a little bit of a push there, but he's going to be able to fly by Parker Blade like Parker was standing still. Parker's still on the tires here from about 100 laps ago, and Parker definitely coming down the runway through the order as the 2x2 Noah's Ark continues down through to 1 and 2.
Miranda's going to have to hope that these guys clear out the battle before he gets there, because if they stay side by side, his only option might just be 3 wide, and we know how dangerous that has been tonight here from Texas. He's going to take the high road and go on the outside in 3 and 4. He might get to Garrett Brown before the exit of the corner. Brown is up the track, almost into Miranda. They are still side by side for 3rd. Make that 3 laps to go this time by as Harlow stays behind Peel by 0.2 of a second.
And if you're Forrester or Keith here at this point, one of you needs to back out of this if you want to have any chance to win this race. Running side by side has allowed for Peel and Harlow to pull out a gap of nearly 0.6 of a second.
Either that or you're going to have to hope for a caution. There's no way around it because they continue to lose time. Warren Kyle Keith has the nose ahead for 3rd, and Forrester is giving him all that he's got. Here's a look on the back bumper of Ross Harlow, and then him chasing towards Lawson Peel. 2 to go.
2 to go. Remember, if we get the white flag out here, the next flag will end it. Here they come down the back straightaway. Harlow trying to hold in behind, but he's losing time.
It's not good news, though, for Ross Harlow. Last time by was a 30.012. Peel with a 30.031. And while he was a little bit slower, it is almost even between the 2 Chevrolets. They're still battling for 3rd. Lawson Peel sees the white flag from Texas.
And a little bit of contact there behind as that's Mario Miranda inserting himself into the equation for the battle for P3.
Miranda's going to try and get there. He gets to the outside of the 24. Now looking on the outside of the 31. He'll push him on the back straightaway. And there's only one more opportunity for the Valhalla Project Chevrolet to catch up to Lawson Peel. But it will not be enough. And out of the final corner, Lawson Peel takes his first playoff win this year. Gets his 4th win of the season at Texas.
And a very fierce battle from behind Colin Forrester, Mario Miranda, Alex Muscarella absolutely throwing elbows coming down through the quad oval. It was going to be Forrester at the line by only 54 thousandths of a second.
What a run by Miranda, who was back in 18th place. In a restart a couple of cautions ago, he's up to 4th, and there's the field sending their congratulations to the defending series champion Lawson Peel, who wins from Texas and advances into the round of 8.
An absolutely brilliant run here from Peel. That car was in contention all day long and just capitalized when he needed to.
5th collective win by Drinkin' Bros Racing this season as Lawson Peel brings you tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. And for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. Lawson Peel holds off Ross Harlow, and on ancient tires, DJ Clark, 68 laps these guys put on their tires, and we thought strategy was going to play a factor as the cautions waved. It did not. Lawson Peel wins his 4th race of the season here from Texas Motor Speedway. Don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage on the other side as we continue the Sunoco Cup Series round of 12 race here from Fort Worth.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my 2 latest creations, the MPI Sing Chassis and the MPI Foldable Stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included, what it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI wheel stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
We have one driver locked in to the round of 8 here from Texas Motor Speedway as Lawson Peel wins. In the final laps, despite the charge from Ross Harlow to catch up to the lead, it was not sufficient. Ross Harlow comes home right behind the race winner, but a great run nonetheless after starting in 18th place. Colin Forrester for Fast Banana closes off a consistent night from Texas as he finishes in 3rd. We'll talk to all of them before we close out our coverage tonight on Podium Esports. Mario Miranda picks it up in the last couple of laps on fresh tires and moves up to 4th at the end of the race. Alex Muscarella from 20th on the grid ends up inside the top 5, so a great run for the 48 car. Same goes for stage number 2 winner and 6th place finisher Warren Kyle Keith. 7th goes to Fast Bananas Austin Reedy in the 96, and then the 16 of Garrett Brown, who picks up some good points heading into Pocono after starting 25th this evening. 9th place goes to the UPS car of Parker Bland, and Isaac Mock in the 47, DJ Clark, rounds out tonight's top 10.
Does indeed. In 11th, it was another Fast Banana Racing driver of Wyatt Brackett, followed by Kip Easley. Then it was Justin Winters. Steven Stempian, who wasn't able to rise nearly as much as his Zero-G teammate, finished in 14th. And then 15th was Brandon Banks. Bill Schoonover came home in 16th, followed by Travis Stevens, Richard Swavely, Brad Fulham, and Aaron Adcock, able to recover for some incidents there. It rounds out your top 20.
Dakota Wilson is 21st at the end of tonight's race. 22nd goes to Judd Danielson. 23rd to Curtis Kelly, who got spun late in the going, but was having such a fantastic race put together up until that spin at the exit of 4. Charles Phelps on the 75 gets to 24th. 25th goes to Casey Knighton, who started dead last in this race. 26 goes to Gary Sexton. Boy, the luck was not on his side this evening. He's going to have a lot of work to do when we get to the Tricky Triangle next Sunday night. Sean Kalis is 27th, and the last car on the lead lap to close off the race. First car one lap down or more is Chris Progar in the 7 in 28th. Justin Erb is 29th. Justin Reeves to round out the top 30, 33 laps down. And then Chris Shoemaker, Ray Rogers, Joseph Mahar, and the 3 car of James Kunkel rounds out tonight's 34-car field from Fort Worth, Texas. Meanwhile, in the victory circle, it is Drinkin' Bros Racing's Lawson Peel and the number 12 car defending series champ, who picks up his 4th race win of the season. And Lawson, it just felt like absolute control at the end of that race. You had some fights around you, some of them for the race lead, but it felt like at the end, nobody could stop you. How does it feel to win tonight's race from Texas and advance to the next round?
Yeah, it feels great, Kenneth. I appreciate it. Was certainly feeling pretty good. Not quite as comfortable as I would say like Kansas or something like that. I felt a whole lot better there. But, you know, this is pretty much a single groove racetrack. The air is huge. And was just able to get out there and control that last stage pretty much. It was just so many cautions, and it was just kind of grueling to just have to endure that many pace laps. But yeah, I'm super happy with that. You know, a couple of those restarts is almost like the guy in third was in the catbird seat. He could clear the second place on the top and then get a run through 1 and 2 down the backstretch on the restart lap. So I was trying to, you know, do my restarts where I could get enough of a jump to kind of have a little cushion there on all those restarts where nobody was going to get a run on me that first lap after restart down the back. So that was what I was focusing on. And, you know, each time I was able to do that, it was just kind of settle in, you know, hit that line right on the bottom and try to seal that line off. And hopefully nobody gets to you. Reedy and Colin and Ross were certainly really fast there. So was having to really work to keep them behind me.
And tire management had to have been a big factor in this as well. I mean, you guys ran almost 70 laps on your stint. You guys had pitted a while back ago. How did it feel behind the wheel? And were there any concerns about how the tires are going to feel if you wanted to hold on for the win?
Yeah, for sure. So that third stage set up where, you know, if we wouldn't have had any cautions, we would have been maybe a couple of laps short on fuel, but we had so many cautions that immediately put us in the fuel window. And I knew that I didn't want to pit and give up the track position unless we ran at least, you know, 10 green flag laps or so, which we never really did. So the tires didn't really get too hot. So, you know, I think most of the green flag laps we put on that set in that third stage were cold laps, and it wasn't very many in a row. So I was really, really nervous when that caution came out about 20 to go. We had just run 5 or 6 laps pretty hard green, and I was just, it was a toss up whether to pit or not. I didn't know what the right call was. Something told me I didn't want to give up the track position right there, and thankfully a lot of people stayed out. I know Mario had to work really hard to kind of fight back up through that, but was just kind of keeping track of where he was, how he was progressing through there, because I knew he was the one I was having to watch for coming on tires there, but never really got my tires too worn out there in that third stage. It was 90-87 there, right there when I finished up. So not too bad.
Well, you end up winning tonight's race. That's an automatic golden ticket into the round of 8, Richmond and Michigan, July 30th and August 6th. You don't have to worry about Pocono Raceway, but talk us through your motive now, your mindset, and how it's going to change from before tonight's win to now that you've got it.
Yeah, so started this round at a few points deficit. I think tonight was just a really, really good points night. Won the first stage, finished 5th in the second stage. Didn't close that one out too well, and then won the race. So really good points night. Pocono, one of my favorite tracks. I certainly like Pocono more than I'm fortunate enough to be pretty good here. This isn't one of my favorite tracks, but always been pretty good here. But Pocono is a stronger one for me. So I really kind of thought of the two in this round, I was eyeing next week. But this is big pressure relief, obviously. You don't have to worry about anything. Just try to go get more stage points and win that race next week so that next round I can kind of start with as much of a cushion as I can in the points.
Oh, this is certainly a good start. That's 100% true. Lawson, on behalf of our entire broadcast crew, congratulations on getting your 4th win of the season, your first in the playoffs. Welcome to the round of 8. We'll see you at the Tricky Triangle next Sunday.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Lawson Peel getting his 4th win of the year. What a job to hold on at the very end. We'll talk to the man who comes home in second, and a hard-fought finish for Ross Harlow, DJ Clark, who comes home here in second.
Indeed, Ross, it looked like you were so close there, absolutely fighting it out to the end, but just a little bit away is what it looked like.
Yeah, just came up short. I knew I was only going to have one shot at Lawson. I mean, he's a hell of a driver, and he's only going to give you one if that. So, I knew I was only going to have one chance at him, and just waited that little bit too long to start really digging for him. Going into a 1 and 2 with 2 to go, I was like, all right, it's time to turn it up. I was just kind of riding up till then, trying to stay with him, and had a big run. Just probably waited a straightaway too long to really start putting the press on him there.
Well, in terms of the playoff run here, though, this is going to set you up relatively well. Certainly gives you a little bit of a cushion as we go on into the next round at Pocono.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just looking for a top 10 here. Honestly, Texas isn't really my favorite track on the schedule, but Pocono is definitely top 3. So I was just hoping to get a decent finish here, and I think I said last week, top 5 is a bonus, and podium's even better. So of course it's always better to win that first round of the in the round of 12, but not even have to worry about it. But feeling real good going to Pocono, and I've had that one circled all season long, whether I made the playoffs or not. So definitely looking forward to it here.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's such I hate to use the cliche, it's such a unique oval when we come to it, but what is it about Pocono in particular that makes you fall in love with it?
I don't know. It's one of those really hard tracks to get into a rhythm because it is 3 completely different corners, right? Texas, even a track like Texas, you've got 1 and 2 where you've got you kind of get into a rhythm, and you got 3 and 4 where you kind of get into a rhythm. So you've kind of got 2 offsetting patterns to do. When you add the third one in there, so you drive 1, you drive 2, you drive 3, and then do it all, reset and do it again. That can throw a lot of guys off, especially if you're not used to going through multiple 7, 8, 9, 10 corners in a race. And it's something I've always been good at, is getting into that rhythm and really just being able to stick with it and make something last for a long run and make something fast for a long run.
Well, it certainly works out well for you, and we hope it brings you some good luck when we head to that Tricky Triangle. But who would you like to thank for today?
Oh man, I mean, right off the bat, right, I got to thank Till Valhalla Project, my primary sponsor, G&G's Gift, Mission 22, Millie Mermaids Trove, Team Watson Racing Setups, all my teammates, SKM, TOW guys, every single one of them are awesome, and we got a lot of talent over there, and it's great being able to share that information back and forth. My whole family, mom, dad, little brother, of course. The biggest thank you in the world goes to my lovely fiance for letting me do this every week and supporting me through it. And everybody I just listed, everybody there, they couldn't do it without them. Big thank you to all you guys with Podium, and of course thank you to the admin team with the Sunoco Cup Series too. Y'all put in a ton of work and put out a beautiful product every single week, and it's amazing.
I couldn't agree with you more about that, my friend. Ross, congratulations on a good second. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, DJ. Looking forward to it, buddy.
All right, Kenneth, that was your second place finisher, Mr. Ross Harlow.
From 18th on the grid, that's a big move for the playoff driver. Moving on to Pocono Raceway, let's bring in Colin Forrester, driver of the 31, who comes home in third. What, Colin, you and Warren Kyle Keith going at it at the end. What was that like?
Man, that was intense. Probably some of the hardest laps I've ever drove. Just driving into the corner hard, but not too hard when I slide up. I mean, there's a super thin line, and then there's a bump in 3 and 4. You gotta kind of avoid, not really avoid, but you kind of gotta manage how you run that. And then, yeah, that was just some of the hardest laps I've ran, and it was super fun, super clean racing. I know he slid up a few times, but that's just I was pinching him super tight, and it was just super clean, super hard racing, and it was honestly really fun.
It was a lot of fun watching you out on track, battle with the 24, and then came in Miranda, so that added in another element of surprise in those closing laps. I mean, Colin started third here tonight, finished third. Cannot express how consistent that is over the course of these 130 laps. And you came into this race below the cut line, even down to 3,000 points with a lot of those guys in the round of 12. So how big of a statement is this to finish in the way that you did here from Texas tonight?
I definitely think it's a pretty good statement. I mean, obviously, the goal in the end is to be the champion, and you have to have consistency to do that. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get the 31 into victory lane, but still working on that. You only need to do it once as long as you make the final round, and I'm gonna try my hardest to get there. And we're gonna see how next week at Pocono goes. I don't know how well that's going to go for me, but just need to run smooth, top 10 there. But obviously tonight ran top 5, got 4th in the first stage. I think I got 7th, 8th in the second stage, so that's pretty good stage points there. And then obviously a 3rd place finish here at the end. It's going to help me out, and hopefully I should have a pretty good cut and just need to run smooth in top 10.
And you mentioned they're trying to put in a little more practice for Pocono. I mean, how difficult is that track in the mix of the playoff schedule? Because I mean, we've had a lot of relatively decent ovals at around the 1.5 mile intermediate range, but when you up things to 2.5 miles, certainly adds another element that you have to deal with.
Yeah, especially with the draft. These cars are super drafty, as you saw tonight. Just even at this 1.5 mile track, 3 and 4 is pretty wide open. So on the front stretch there, you got the draft playing a big key, and even down the back stretch, just depends how you handled 1 and 2. But at Pocono, the draft's gonna be super key, and as long as you're in the draft at Pocono, you got a chance really, because that track's just super hard to pass. And if you're not in the draft, good luck, because there's gonna be a train coming around your outside. And man, it's definitely going to be a super fun race. I'm sure it's going to be a good race, just like tonight was. I know we had a few cautions, but look forward to it, and look forward to the trick triangle next week.
All right, Colin, well, a great run here tonight from Texas. 3rd place finish as you move on to Pocono next Sunday. We certainly appreciate the time. On behalf of all of us at the broadcast team, congratulations on the podium, and we'll see you at Long Pond, Pennsylvania next week.
All right, appreciate it, Kenneth.
That's Colin Forrester, driver of the 31, who closes off the top 3 here from Texas Motor Speedway. And DJ, we saw a lot of cool things in this race, whether it be the battles up front, the battles in the middle of the field, and then the strategy. We sort of got thrown off with that. We expected a lot of these guys to come in. None of them did. Track position proved as the king, and Lawson Peel, 4th win of the season, as he becomes the first driver to lock into the round of 8.
Yeah, Lawson drove an absolutely fantastic race, as did Ross Harlow. Let's not forget him. And let's not forget our 4th place finisher here, Mario Miranda, really the one to kind of be the exception that proved the rule in all of this. Mario making that late race tire call, charging back up through the field. I think that's a bit of a statement of intent here from Mario. He's not going to go quietly into the night. He wants to be fighting by the time we get to Homestead.
He's relentless, there's no doubt about it. And we know that's going to be the same moving onward to Pocono. And Ross Harlow made a great point when you were talking to him earlier on the 2nd place interview, was that Pocono, it's so hard to get comfortable. Very difficult to get into a rhythm, just because you've got 3 different corners all modeled after different tracks across the United States. So as we move on to an elimination context, to get the drivers to the round of 8 through, that's also going to get things very feisty on track when you think of what these guys have to do if they want to advance.
Yeah, it's not going to be a simple way around the 3 turns of Pocono. Obviously, as you mentioned there, Indianapolis, Trenton, and the Milwaukee Mile, what those corners are measured after. It's going to be an absolutely fascinating race. And as always, as we see as Pocono, I think strategy is going to play a big, big factor into it, especially depending on what the weather conditions are going to be. If that track gets a little bit toasty, we could be talking about tire wear. We could be talking about a tire-limited race.
And we've also seen with the track as big as it is and how difficult it is to drive, you do have draft packs, but a lot of them get to separate. We could see a lot of conducive long green flag racing over in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. That's the elimination race of the round of 12, so we will decide which 4 drivers will be eliminated and which 7 alongside Lawson Peel are able to move on the quest for a Sunoco Cup Series championship. Well, that'll do it here for the Everything is Bigger in Texas 200. A big thank you to league owner Dakota Curtis and all the admins at the Sunoco Cup Series for all their hard work, and to a thank you for all of those at Podium Esports, for Gary Sexton, John Theodore, and for all of us on the broadcast team tonight. For Ryan Bauer, our producer, our camera creator, Dougie Beard, and for my colleague in the booth, TJ Clark, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long from the Lone Star State. Lawson Peel wins his 4th race of the year. We'll see you at Pocono to close off the round of 12.